Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. I'm in Naruto. Double package at the start. Chapter 121. Because Chiyo and others fled hastily. So they failed to take away the camp where Sunagaku was stationed. So at the order of Yuri Junhong, the Konoha Shinobi people immediately dismantled Sand Shinobi's camp. Then the brigade, carrying various supplies, went to the border of the Country of Fire. Before night falls, a temporary camp was erected on the border between the Country of Fire and the Country of Sichuan. In the new headquarters, a group of Konoha Jonin commanders are summing up and reporting after the war. Zhaojian also used the phone worm to dial the meeting room in the Konoha Hokage building. How is the battle going? As soon as the phone worm was connected, Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice rang. Moreover, his anxious appearance was also brought to life by the phone worm imitating the 370. Ha ha ha, teacher, don't worry, Sunagaku's large forces have been driven out of the land of fire by us. Orochimaru, who was sitting in the position of commander-in-chief, responded with a smile. Then I saw the phone worm imitating third generation and made a relieved expression. And on the phone worm, there were bursts of cheering voices. It's really red, you can report the specific battle report. After a short while, the noise from the phone bug stopped. Then Orochimaru raised his hand and gestured towards Yuri Junhong. Yes, Tari really blushed and responded with a serious face. Then he got up and picked up a form on the table that had been counted a long time ago. In the meeting room of the Hokage building, the high-level patriarchs heard Orochimaru's words, and they all set their ears up. Although they knew that Sand Shinobi was repelled, they did not know the specific results. Inhale, take a look at the statistics on the table. Tari Junhong also couldn't help taking a deep breath, his expression a little excited. Because the content recorded here is definitely enough to make the village seniors feel shocked. Cough cough. In this battle, we killed a total of 1,761 people and captured people from the enemy. Tari Junhong cleared his throat, and then he reported with some excitement. Good, ha ha ha, you guys did a good job. Killing so many people in one battle, Sand Shinobi has lost a lot this time. What can I do if I lose it? Who made them start the war? This is the price to provoke Konoha, ha ha ha. Tari Junhong has just reported the number of enemies killed by his side. On the other side of the phone worm, he suddenly became noisy with excitement. All kinds of praises are also constantly spreading from the phone worm. For a while, all the Jonin commanders in the command post also showed full smiles. Cough cough. Everyone, stop first, really Red hasn't finished reporting yet. The shouting and cheering discussion continued for several minutes without stopping. So third generation could only raise its hand and suppress the noise of the high-level villagers in the meeting room. Even though he heard so many slashing enemies, Sarutobi Hiruzen was also very happy. But his heart was also somewhat depressed. Because so many enemies were beheaded in one battle, it also heralded that the process of this battle was very fierce. Therefore, our own casualties are also very likely to be a huge number. Cough cough. The number of wounded on our side in this battle is 401. The number of people killed was 67. Tari Junhong cleared his throat again, and then said in a slightly heavy voice. Although this was a huge victory, when reporting one's own casualties, it was natural not to show any joy. Because this is the most basic and simple respect for the unfortunate companions who died in battle. But when Yuri Junhong finished talking about his casualties, he was interrupted again. And the person who interrupted him this time was Sarutobi Hiruzen himself. 67 people killed. Really Red, did you report the wrong thing? Sarutobi Hiruzen's suspicious voice and suspicious expression on his face were perfectly imitated on the phone worm. The high levels in the conference room of the Hokage building also had almost the same expressions. If the reported number of deaths is increased tenfold, then they probably wouldn't be so suspicious. Because even if it turns 10 times, one's own side is considered a big victory. Because in the war, there can be no casualties. And all the high levels are well prepared and may lose a lot of preparations. But the results reported, although there are also casualties. But this number of deaths made them wonder if Yuri Junhong had read it wrong. Cough cough. Our side is indeed, only 67 people were killed. Tari Junhong suppressed the excitement in his heart. Continued to keep it, and replied with a heavy face. However, in his words, there was still a hint of joy that could not be concealed accidentally. After reconfirming the number of people killed in the battle, the meeting room in the Hokage building fell into the audible silence of the needle drop in an instant. Konoha has gone through so many wars over the years. But it has never happened once. It was a battle that killed more than 1,000 enemies, but lost no more than 100 people. Not in World War I, nor in World War II. So they all fell into unbelievable silence for a while. What exactly is going on? After a long silence in the meeting room of the Hokage building, Sarutobi Hiruzen asked very puzzledly. Because during the pre-war meeting, they also drove the phone worm to listen in. But there are no tricks in the battle plan. Under such a frontal attack, how did it achieve it, with only a small amount of casualties? Sarutobi Hiruzen was very puzzled, and the senior villagers in the meeting room had the same questions as him. Because before the war, Captain Zhaojian developed a very powerful new technique. Hearing third generation's question, Yuri Junhong turned his head and glanced at Zhaojian. After seeing Zhaojian nodding his head to indicate that there is no problem, he then spoke to third generation and others to answer. The new technique developed by Zhaojian before the war. Hearing Yuri Mahong's explanation, everyone in the meeting room of the Hokage building became even more puzzled. What kind of technique is it? Can you reduce your own casualties to this level? Is it similar to Tsunade, summoning Katsuyu and other auxiliary ninjutsu? But even this auxiliary type of ninjutsu shouldn't be able to reduce the casualties to such a wide range of casualties, right? All kinds of speculation and curiosity are in the minds of the Konoha executives. Yes, Captain Zhaojian has developed an amazing ninjutsu. Recalling Zhaojian's previous tricks, Yuri's Red is also shocked. Only then did Zhaojian's performance in the battle be spoken to 151. He didn't conceal a trace, because Zhaojian Gango had already nodded, indicating that it would be okay to let him take the picture. What? Zhaojian alone just defeated Sand Shinobi's military spirit and morale. After listening to Tari Junhong's entire O2 battle from beginning to end without reservation, third generation suddenly felt that his brain was a little down. Is Zhaojian already so strong? His strength has improved too quickly, right? In the entire Hokage conference room, at this moment, all fell into a horrified silence. One person, defeating the ethics of the 5,000 Brigade, what kind of strength is this? In the impression of a group of high-level people, the entire history of the shinobi world, it seems that only the two legendary people can achieve this level. Could it be that? Is Zhaojian already able to compete with the two giants? There is also light escape. What kind of ninjutsu? Why have you never heard of it in the ninja world? Is this a new blood succession boundary developed by him himself, or is it a blood succession elimination? Everyone in the Hokage conference room was so shocked that they couldn't help themselves. If Zhaojian really compares to giants, then Konoha village will enter the first generation period again. Reach the peak of the power of one person to shock the ninja world and overlook the surrounding countries. At that time, who would dare to start a war against Konoha? Isn't that playing a lantern in the toilet to find death? How many enemies did Zhaojian kill? The Hokage conference room was silent for a long time before someone asked. And hearing this question, everyone in the front command center also focused on Zhaojian. In fact, they don't know exactly how Zhaojian cuts the enemy. Because many Sand Shinobi were buried directly by Zhaojian's moves. So they only know a general scope. The number of enemies killed by Captain Zhaojian, in fact, we have not been able to count the accurate numbers. But the approximate number is about 700 to 800 people. Tari Junhong thought for a while, and then answered seriously and truthfully. As soon as the voice fell, the other side of the phone worm fell into the audible silence of the needle drop again. From the outbreak of the war, the advance team sent by Sand Shinobi village began. In each battle of Zhaojian, the number of enemies is broken. In the second battle, he slaughtered nearly 500 Sand Shinobi directly, and then turned the tide and blocked the Sand Shinobi outside of Kikyo City. And he also ended the battle, and after returning to Kikyo Castle, he fell asleep directly after exhaustion. When the top leaders received these battle reports, no one was shocked. And they should think that killing 500 people in a battle is also the limit of Zhaojian's strength. But no one thought that after he developed a new technique this time. But he broke through again, this personal record of slaying enemies that he created, unmatched. The high-level patriarchs of Konoha felt their nerves a little numb. The battle with Sand Shinobi Village is not over yet. Sand Shinobi Village has nearly 2,000 people, and they lost their lives in Zhaojian's hands. 2,000 people, what is this concept? Even if the enemy is lining up, stretch their necks and chop someone. Then it would take several hours to hack and kill to finish it, right? Thinking of this, the high levels were all caught in a speechless shock. Even Makoto, who is supporting the elder to participate in the meeting, is holding his mouth tightly at this moment, and his heart is beating continuously. In the conference room of the Hokage building. From the shock again, when it came back to my senses. A group of high-level patriarchs praised Zhaojian loudly. There are even a few patriarchs who are playing Zhaojian's flattery, wanting to have a relationship with Zhaojian. For a while, Zhaojian was amused and couldn't help but laugh. At this moment, the high levels of these villages still have a little bit of stability and style as high levels. It's like a group of very kind and enthusiastic old men. And the Grand Elder Uchiha in the conference room, seeing so many people wanting to get closer to Zhaojian, couldn't help laughing, ha. Hearing his laughter, Zhaojian suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, the Great Elder kept laughing, but didn't say anything that made Kushina suspicious. After the meeting, Zhaojian had a lingering fear and hung up the phone worm. This allowed his beating heart to be calm again. Teacher Zhaojian. The meeting was announced disbanded. Zhaojian and Kushina walked out of the headquarters arm in arm. Then I saw it outside, and the long-awaited Kakashi greeted him. Teacher Zhaojian, your weapon. Walked to Zhaojian in front of the two. With a respectful face, Kakashi held the black knife Chushui in both hands and handed it to Zhaojian. His weapons have been sharpened again by him. So he felt that he should return the weapon to the teacher. No need to pay me back. I'll give you this knife. Zhaojian smiled, and reached out and pushed the black knife Chushui back. He didn't need a black knife anymore, and it seemed a bit cumbersome to carry it on his back. Since Lulin met Mirai Kaka West, this saber had already been given to him. Then just leave it to Kakashi at this moment. Gave it to me. Kakashi looked up and looked at Zhaojian with a puzzled look. Although he liked this knife very much, he never thought that the teacher would give him such a good weapon. Just treat it as a gift for you to be promoted to Jonin in the future. Zhaojian smiled and patted Kakashi on the shoulder. You gave me the weapon, do you still have a weapon, teacher? Kakashi looked at Zhaojian's empty hands and waist, wondering for a while. After all, Zhaojian is the master of kendo. Did he use ninjutsu to kill the enemy in the future? Why, do you want to see your teacher my new weapon? Zhaojian let go, and Kushina tickled. Then his hands gathered in front of him in Kakashi's curious eyes. Sky Kong Yun sword. With a secret cry, Zhaojian's hands were pulled apart from left and right. The dazzling photon instantly condensed into a golden sword in his hands. How about it, your teacher? My new weapon is not lazy, right? Looking at the stunned Kakashi, Zhaojian smiled and raised his hand. After that, the lightsaber in his hand was dispersed. Kushina, who was curious on the same face, went straight upstairs and left here. Kakashi, whose eyes glowed, was left messy in the wind. The border between the country of Wind and the country of Sichuan. A new Sunagakur position was also completed here. However, because of the lack of various materials, it is also very random and simple to build. In the entire camp, there are only a few dozen tents used for street sleepers. Almost most of the Sand Shinobi found an open place at will, and sat directly on the ground to rest. Sadness and low emotions spread in the hearts of all Sand Shinobi. Everyone was full of sorrow, silently licking the hurt in their hearts. For a time, this newly built camp was shrouded in a very depressing and dull place. In the center of the camp, within a large tent. This is Sand Shinobi Village, the new frontline headquarters. At this time, all the Jonin commanders of Sand Shinobi were all concentrated in the tent. However, compared with before, the number of Sand Shinobi Jonin at this time is about 1/3 less. As for the other Jonin, why are they absent? The reason is of course self-evident. Let's talk about it. What should we do now? Chiyo sat on the main seat and asked with a haggard face. In the headquarters at this moment, the casualties of this battle have also been counted. Looking at the bloody figures, all the commanders of Jonin also felt their hearts and liver trembling. How about, shall we withdraw the troops? After the scene was silent for a long time, a Jonin said cautiously. In fact, not only did he have this idea, the rest of the Sand Shinobi also had plans to retreat. Because they were dominant in number before, they were all ruthlessly defeated by Konoha. At this time, they still had less than 3,700 people left, and they almost didn't have much advantage in their numbers. How can this fight Konoha? They did not have much confidence even if they continued to procrastinate and wait for the village to send reinforcements. Because now, no one can stop that bastard who shines with golden light. All Sand Shinobi are very afraid of Zhaojian at this time. But it didn't hinder them, and cursed Zhaojian in their hearts. Hearing that the first person to speak out wanted to admit counsel and retreat, Chiyo suddenly felt a burst of anger. If you retreat now, doesn't it mean you have lost the battle? Then the compatriots who sacrificed in this war, don't they mean sacrifice in vain? Besides, this war was provoked by Sand Shinobi. Do you think Konoha can do anything if you take the initiative to retreat now? It hasn't happened yet. No, we absolutely cannot retreat at this moment. Just when Chi and I got angry and wanted to yell at him, Luosho's weak but firm voice rang. Let's not say whether we can beat Konoha now. But if we retreat on this trip, doesn't it mean that the door is wide open and Konoha can directly enter the Kingdom of Wind without any barriers? Don't forget, this war was triggered by Sand Shinobi, so Konoha's fight into the Kingdom of Wind also has a legitimate counterattack. Hearing what Luosho said, Chiyo nodded, which was a little relieved. It seems that Sunagakur at this time still has a younger generation who can understand the situation. Then you say, what should we do now? After hearing what Luosho said, most people nodded, feeling that what he said was indeed reasonable. But there are still a small number of people who want to retreat back to the village in fear. After all, not everyone can die generously for the village. Wait for the border to delay time. Luosho's face was solemn, and she said solemnly. Wait. After hearing Luosho's words, everyone in the command center. They all gathered their curious eyes on Luosho, waiting for his next words. Yes, just wait. Seeing everyone, I was looking at myself. Luosho didn't spare Wanzi, but directly spoke out slowly. After World War II, the ninja world has been cultivated for so many years, and the major countries have long been ready to move, waiting for a chance for a war to break out. At this time, a war broke out between us and Konoha, and other countries would definitely be unable to hold back. A few days have passed since we declared the war. If what I expected is not bad, the other 3 hidden villages are also intensively preparing for war at this moment. So as long as we can hold on for a few more days, Konoha will become vulnerable. At that time, if we want to counterattack again, it's not that we have no chance of winning. So at this moment, we have to stay on the border. 1. To prevent Konoha from invading the Kingdom of Wind. 2. I am also waiting for an opportunity to fight back in the Jedi. Although Luosho's voice was weak, her momentum was plausible. And his analysis also seems reasonable. For a time. The Sand Shinobi in the command headquarters also nodded frequently. It seemed to see another glimmer of hope of defeating Konoha. Okay, just follow what Luosho said. After Luosho finished speaking, after a few seconds of silence on the scene, Chiyo said in a final word. Retreat. How is it possible to retreat? It is impossible for her to retreat for thousands of generations. During World War II, her son and daughter-in-law died at Konoha's hands. Good for Zhao, this made her a lonely old man. At this time, another close relative of her was captured by Konoha during the 3 wars. The new hatred and the old hatred added together, and her heart was burned by anger. You see, how can she swallow this bad breath? And Yu Gong, just as Luosho said. Now they have no choice. If he retreats, Konoha may directly enter the Kingdom of Wind. So the situation between them and Konoha has been reversed at this time. At this moment, they went from the invading party to the party preparing to guard against death. After the meeting, the Jonins of Chidai also conveyed the content of the meeting to the dust. She hopes that Sand Shinobi's army will also realize the danger in the Kingdom of the Wind at this moment. I also want to use the banner of defending the home and the country to reinvigorate the low morale of the Sand Shinobi. The next day, After a big battle, after driving Sand Shinobi out of the Land of Fire, Konoha's army also decided to fix it for a day. Although there were not many casualties in this battle, everyone was quite exhausted. Moreover, various weapons such as blunt damage and consumption also need to be polished and supplemented. Without adequate preparation, the fighting cannot continue forever. Master Zhaojian, good morning. Master Zhaojian, good morning. In the early morning, when the sky was just bright, Zhaojian woke up as usual. Walking in Konoha's position, the Konoha shinobi who met all expressed their respectful greetings to Zhaojian. And Zhaojian didn't put on any airs, and all nodded. In yesterday's battle, after a mass murder, he gained a little more than 40,000 prestige points. At this moment, his accumulated prestige has reached more than 65,000 points. Because there was nothing to do today, Zhaojian spent 2,000 prestige points when he woke up just now, and conducted 2 primary lottery draws. Originally, he just wanted to pass the boring time, but unexpectedly, he got an interesting prize. That is the hero of the halberd-eating spirit. Fortunately, Xingping Shuangjin, a data card. Zhaojian at this moment has already integrated the cards. And his culinary skills, has also undergone a breakthrough in the sky-like changes. So he took the time to reorganize the team today and took Messina to find a quiet place for an outing and camping. Let her also taste her own cooking skills at the moment, mythical level. As the saying goes, if you want to grab a man's heart, you have to grab his stomach first. At this moment, Zhaojian wanted to do the opposite and grab Kushina's stomach first. By the way, during an outing, see if you can make a substantial breakthrough with Kushina. Zhaojian. The tent where the two lived was not far away. After Zhaojian went out for more than a minute, he came to the tent where Mei Shinai was. At this moment, Kushina just came out of the tent. So the two suddenly looked at each other. Cough cough. Kushina, let's go camping. Zhaojian cleared his throat deliberately, and then said solemnly. Because of some impure reasons in his mind, his face also has a slight guilty conscience. However, Kushina did not notice these details. Hot camping. Kushina bends her head in doubt. I don't understand why Zhaojian wanted to go camping during the war. ACDA, yes, isn't the team going to be reorganized today? So I have nothing to do, I plan to take you to camping, and let you see my cooking skills. Tell you a big secret by the way. In the shinobi world, if I recognize cooking as the second, no one would dare to recognize cooking as the first. Near Kushina's side, Zhaojian deliberately lowered his head to whisper to her. The heat blew in Kushina's ears, and her cheeks were suddenly flushed. Okay. Kushina's head was dizzy, and she nodded and agreed. I didn't even question what Zhaojian boasted and broadcasted, what kind of cooking is the first and second. It's finished. Zhaojian screamed, his heart was overjoyed. Illustration. Then excitedly led Kushina, and walked over to the logistics department of the camp. After getting all kinds of spices from the logistics staff, Zhaojian immediately opened Kagura's eyes. At a distance of 20 kilometers from here, I found a quiet place. It was a valley surrounded by mountains and surrounded by lush greenery, which seemed a bit of spring. There is also a creek that runs across the valley, and it is located in a quiet yet splendid location. It is the best place for couples outing and camping. Zhaojian casually caught a passing ninja who admired his greetings. Let him pass on the news that he and Kushina will return tomorrow to the headquarters, so as not to worry about the disappearance of himself and Kushina. After the explanation, Zhaojian and Kushina held hands and set off together towards the destination. The two cuddled all the way and swayed slowly all the way. While watching the beautiful scenery of the border, I also caught a lot of mountain and game. When we arrived at the destination, it was already in the afternoon. Zhaojian first took out a moisture-proof mat necessary for outings from the system and spread it on the flat grass. Then he took out a simple dining table, tablecloth, and 2 dining chairs. Even the candles and red wine were taken out in the end. The grand and romantic atmosphere suddenly radiated out unconsciously. Kushina, who was standing on the side, was stunned. After finishing the arrangement, Zhaojian took out the pots and pans he had received in the logistics department of the camp. Followed by, he began to show off his mythical cooking skills. Although due to the shortage of ingredients, he can't cook Xingping Shuangjin's best dishes at this moment. But after Zhaojian's skillful operation, Kushina was also taken aback. Over time, the alluring scent, soon under the operation of Zhaojian, gradually filled the surroundings. Kushina, who helped out by Zhaojian's side, couldn't help but breathe in the aroma from time to time, and kept wiping her saliva. As night fell, Zhaojian lit the candles on the dining table. The romantic atmosphere, under his careful arrangement, has become more and more intense. And Kushina seems to be aware of something, and the cheeks gradually become turbulent. Xiao. Under the candlelight dinner, Zhaojian stood up and filled the goblet at Kushina's table with 1/3 of the red wine. Kushina, who had never experienced this kind of battle, was immediately moved by Zhaojian's romance. Love to the depths, nature comes naturally. After dinner, both of them had reddened cheeks because of the red wine. Falling on the moisture-proof mat, Zhaojian kicked off the dining table. Wait a minute. Just when Zhaojian was about to peel away the orange peel, Kushina interrupted him quickly. Then his hands quickly sealed, releasing adamantine sealing chains. An enchantment that can see the outside from the inside, but cannot see the inside from the outside. All around the two of them were enveloped in an instant. Hello, what are they doing inside? Is it really curious? On a big tree in the distance, a half-black and half-white figure drilled half of its body from the trunk. The curious baby's generally doubtful voice came from his mouth. Hey, white Zetsu, don't get out of the tree trunk at will, that guy's perception is very strong. There was another voice in the mouth of the black and white figure. But the tone is completely different from the curious baby before. I know. White Zetsu replied helplessly and regretfully. Then gradually, he sneaked into the trunk of the big tree again. Illustration. But at this moment, his very puzzled voice rang again. Right, Black Zetsu, do you know what poop means? Hearing White Zetsu's question, Black Zetsu's already black half-body suddenly became even darker. Late at night, Konoha Village, Hokage Building. Why don't you get through? Is it the wrong way of operation? Sarutobi Hiruzen's anxious voice rang from the main seat of the conference room. They have just received information about the attacks of Iwagakure and Cloud Shinobi Village at the same time. I wanted to call Zhaojian's phone worms, let them speed up the process to enter the Kingdom of Wind, forcing Sunagakure to directly surrender and submit, and then mobilize the army to support. Who knows at this critical moment? The phone worm is unexpectedly unable to dial out. This made all the people in the conference room a little anxious, a grasshopper on a hot pot. There is no error in the operation. Zhaojian taught me how to use it at the beginning. Makoto, who was calling the worm all the time, was also sweating profusely. And don't know why, she suddenly had a bad feeling. This made her even more anxious. How about this critical time? The phone worm happened to be a problem. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed helplessly, feeling very depressed. The high-level patriarchs in the conference room also seemed a little anxious at this time. At present, there is no new news from the border of the water country. But the border between the land of the land and the land of thunder, unsurprisingly, has already begun a war at this moment. However, Konoha's current half of the main force has all been put on the battlefield of Sunagakure. They don't know how long the border defense lines of the land and the land of thunder can last. If the battle on the Sunagakure side is not only resolved as soon as possible, then they can only send the village genins to the front line to support them. This is something they don't want to see very much. A heavy cloud-like atmosphere hung over the meeting room in the Hokage building. So everyone is keeping a close eye on Makoto, who has been calling the worm. Looking forward to the voice of Zhaojian answering from the phone bug. The next day, when the sky is getting brighter, Zhaojian stretched his waist, only then slowly woke up from sleep come over. This was the most beautiful and comfortable night he slept through all these years. A delicate blanket was spread over him, and Kushina was sleeping in his arms like a piggy. The two had a fuss and went to bed late last night. So Zhaojian at this moment can't bear to wake Kushina. Thoughts flew in his head, thinking of all the things yesterday. Zhaojian hugged Mei Shinai quietly, enjoying the tranquility and continuity of this moment. About an hour later, Kushina's eyebrows blinked, and only then did they start to wake up. But after her consciousness was fully awake in her head, she did not dare to open her eyes. So he continued to pretend to sleep. However, the two red clouds climbing on the cheeks still betrayed her without a doubt. Ha ha ha. Little lazy pig got up, we should go back too. Seeing Kushina pretending to sleep shyly, Zhaojian suddenly laughed. To tell the truth, he hugged Kushina for so long, and his arms began to numb. Illustration. But he couldn't bear to wake up the sleeping beauty in his dream. You are not allowed to watch. Good, don't look down. Pretending to be asleep was caught. Kushina's face became even more embarrassing. Grabbing the clothes around him, he slipped into the blanket. After a period of censorship, her face was flushed red drilled out again. After Kushina was dressed, Zhaojian lifted the blanket openly. Then, without any scruples, he walked through her face. Suddenly Kushina killed Shu and became an ostrich. Wow. After both of them had finished walking, Kushina made a seal. The enchantment surrounding adamantine sealing chains slowly faded away. Kushina, teach me this technique, let me use it next time. Seeing the practicality of adamantine sealing chains again, Zhaojian couldn't help but ask for advice immediately. This technique not only integrates offense and defense, but also creates enchantments and even seals chakra. In the A-level ninjutsu, it definitely ranks among the best. And if you learn this technique, wouldn't it be an outing and camping in the future? Okay. When Zhaojian said that I would use it next time, Kushina's face was a little blushing. But she did not reject Zhaojian. The relationship between the two has progressed to this extent. What Zhaojian wanted, she would naturally not refuse. Hey, Kushina looked like you had the final say, and Zhaojian couldn't help laughing. At this moment, a sudden sound interrupted what he was about to say. Brew. Phone worm. Zhaojian was surprised. Then he drew it on his body. This took the phone worm out. Because the phone worm is placed in the system, the signal will be cut off. So he always carried it with him and put it directly in his pocket. Blue, click, Moses, Master 3rd generation, the call worm is connected. Just when Zhaojian spoke, at the end of the phone worm, Makoto's surprise call suddenly came. Zhaojian subconsciously turned his head and cast a glance at Kushina, feeling a little sad. Zhaojian, what is going on? Why did you call the phone bug all night, but couldn't get through? In the Hokage meeting room, 3rd generation, who hadn't slept all night, took Makoto's call worm like a snatch. Then the voice asked anxiously and suspiciously. As for the high-level patriarchs resting in their seats. In the exclamation that Makoto dialed the phone, everyone was shocked, and he woke up instantly. Dial my phone worm all night. Hearing the words of 3rd generation, Zhaojian went down for a while. Illustration. Then his mind suddenly flashed through the scene of the phone worm being blocked by Doflamingo birdcage in one piece. So he understood what was going on in an instant. Forehead. Last night. I was developing a new ninjutsu last night. So the barrier was opened, maybe because of the barrier, it blocked the phone worm's signal. Zhaojian was a little embarrassed, scratching the back of his head. The top management called all night. Obviously there is something very urgent. I didn't expect that this kind of thing would happen all night. Develop a new ninjutsu. Hearing Zhaojian's nonsense, Kushina smirked inwardly. Then he looked down at himself, then looked up at Zhaojian who was talking with the higher-ups. His face was blushing immediately, and he turned over a big Byakugan. Enchantment, have you opened the barrier all night? On the phone worm, the silent voice of 3rd generation rang. Unexpectedly, the phone worm that had been on the phone all night was actually blocked by the barrier. Cough. Because I was so tired last night, I forgot to close the enchantment. Hearing Zhaojian's words, 3rd generation felt a burst of anger. In this case, I waited for someone to stay up late and dial the phone worm all night. You were there, and you slept peacefully all night. Not an example. Seeing the phone worm imitating the expression of 3rd generation, Zhaojian suddenly laughed. After figuring out the phone bug and why it couldn't make a call, 3rd generation didn't tremble anymore. Just take the information just received last night. All of them were provided to Zhaojian. Then he instructed Zhaojian to let the frontline army enter the Kingdom of Wind as soon as possible. Directly force Sand Shinobi village to surrender and sign the defeat treaty. Realizing that the situation was indeed urgent, Zhaojian didn't ask anything more. Then the mouth should be issued. third generation and the high-level People's Order of War. Then he hung up the phone, and Kushina quickly rushed back to Konoha's position. Because Kushina has just gone through the transformation of her life. Therefore, her body movement is still a bit inconvenient at this time. So Zhaojian took out the Zujingting that hadn't been used for a long time from the system and gave her a hand tool. Under the curiosity of Kushina's 373, Zhaojian briefly introduced her and taught her how to use the bamboo dragonfly. The operation of this thing is very simple, so Kushina quickly learned how to control it. Of course, Kushina has used flying. How could Zhaojian run on the ground alone? Although a bamboo dragonfly cannot bear the weight of 2 adults. But this is not difficult for Zhaojian. He directly used the Cuttlefish Girl's bracelet to reduce his weight to the lightest 0.5 grams. Then from behind Kushina, he hugged her small waist. Just like the action of the hero and heroine in the Titanic. Then the two flew directly into the air, and flew straight out in the direction of Konoha's position. Because above the sky, there are no obstacles. So the forward speed is also very fast. About half an hour later, Zhaojian and Kushina were both under the gaze of countless Konoha shinobi. They flew directly into the Konoha position. All kinds of cheers and greetings to Zhaojian worship. There was a resounding immediately below the two of them. For a while, news of the return of Zhaojian and Kushina also spread to the headquarters. I heard that the two of Zhaojian actually returned by flying. A crowd of Jonin commanders also came out of the command post with curiosity. It is also at this time. Zhaojian and Kushina are the two. It also happened to be slow and landed in front of the headquarters. The Jonin commanders of Konoha suddenly stared dumbfounded. All looked at the top of Kushina's head, the bamboo dragonfly that was slowly stopping spinning. No one is not a curious baby. Everyone wants to find out what kind of high technology this is. But before they could speak, Zhaojian interrupted him directly. I just received urgent information from the senior leaders of the village, and now we need to call a pre-war meeting immediately. Zhaojian had just finished speaking, only to realize that Orochimaru was not among them. Seeing Zhaojian's doubts, Yuri Junhong dispatched quickly, and a guard went to inform Orochimaru. Now that there was emergency information from the top, no one would dare to underestimate it. Everyone stepped into the headquarters again. After a short while, Orochimaru also hurried over. After all the personnel arrived in Chi, Zhaojian directly said all the content of the conversation with third generation and others before quickly. Because this is an emergency war order issued by the senior officials. Therefore, they also arranged the general content of the pre-war meeting in advance. Illustration. Therefore, the senior officials did not continue to participate in this pre-war meeting. Moreover, they stayed up all night last night, and at this moment they will all have their own sleep. I didn't expect Rock Shinobi and Cloud Shinobi village to attack Konoha at the same time. It seems that this war with Sunagaku must be ended as soon as the senior officials said. Yeah, if you don't quickly defeat Sunagaku at this time, Konoha will have to face the 3 ninja villages at the same time. Rock Shinobi and Cloud Shinobi, they invaded at the same time as if they had colluded. It was simply shameless. It should be Iwagakure. I have been waiting for this opportunity. Iwagakure is really not easy. Zhaojian quickly finished the intelligence content of the senior executives. Then in the headquarters of the meeting, all kinds of noises and discussions suddenly sounded. The emergency information from the top also broke up the crowd because of the relief brought about by the victory the day before yesterday. The Jonin commanders felt that at this moment, their mood was a little extra heavy. Originally, we were also ready to enter the Kingdom of Wind. This also coincides with the war order issued by the senior management. In that case, there is nothing to say, just gather the team to attack. The character is rather troublesome. So Nara Shikahisa, who rarely speaks. At this moment, he changed his normal and became more serious. At this moment, Zhaojian couldn't help but looked at him a few more times. Nara Lujo's IQ is definitely the most well-deserved one in this frontline command. It's just that, because of this war with Sand Shinobi, Konoha has the advantage from the beginning. Therefore, it is not necessary to use his IQ to make suggestions. Because of this, Nara Luju rarely speaks, and has been silently lazy next to him. Unexpectedly this time Konoha encountered a crisis. He was also serious and stood up on his own initiative. This made Zhaojian couldn't help it, and muttered in his heart, as expected, the personality of your future son is exactly the same. Since the high-level war order has been issued, let's start to execute it. Everyone is in his position, and each does his job. According to yesterday's meeting, assigned to your respective teams, start a major invasion of the Kingdom of Wind. Not long after Nara Shikahisa's words were finished, Orochimaru also stood up. Then, the assignment of combat was issued, and the commandership was handed over to Yuri Junhong. The commander-in-chief of him is also becoming more and more proficient. The meeting yesterday, the assigned team. Is there a copy of mine? Because I was absent yesterday. So Zhaojian didn't know any specific combat arrangements, so he asked out curiously. Ha ha ha, Zhaojian-kun, you are our main force. You don't need to lead the team, just rush to kill at will. Hearing what Zhaojian said, Orochimaru said with a hoarse smile. I see. Zhaojian nodded. He just asked curiously. In fact, it is best if you don't have your own arrangements. Because of this, oneself can be better and wantonly reap prestige value. Report. A horrified and sharp voice suddenly rang from Sand Shinobi's position. The Sand Shinobi, who immediately rested around them, were also a little bit as earth-colored astonished. Report to Lord Chiyo. The figure stumbled directly into the headquarters. When he first entered the door, he kicked his right heel with his left foot in a panic, and fell to the ground with a fall. Everyone in the command center, seeing him so flustered, was also a little anxious. Why panic? The little bit of morale that you have accumulated with great difficulty has been held by you. Chiyo, who was in a bad mood, saw this sense perceiving ninja panicked, and immediately roared with anger. Chiyo-sama, Konoha, Konoha, I'm calling here again. The perception ninja who climbed up from the ground was also a little silent after being screamed by Chiyo. But he was still trembling, and said everything. What, have you called again? Could it be that Konoha guessed our plan? What to do, what should I do now? Sand Shinobi Jonin, who were already anxious, immediately began to panic and think about it after hearing the words of the sensing ninja. Although everyone knew that Konoha would call over sooner or later. But when the call came, they were still instinctively startled. Noisy. What a decent way. You are the captain and the commander, you are doing this, what do the ninjas below think? Seeing that as a member of the command center, there were so many people in a panic, Chiyo was yelled in anger again. At this time, the military spirit of the brigade was already very unstable. If you are high-level commanders, you will be so flustered and discouraged. Then they don't have to stay here and wait for the time to counterattack. Because even the command staff were in this state, Sand Shinobi couldn't stop Konoha anyway. This, Chiyo's anger and rhetoric made the Jonin commanders feel a little ashamed. There was silence for a while in the headquarters, and Luosho also stood up. At this time, we have no retreat. Instead of being downcast here and frightened. Why can't I stop Konoha with a determination to die? Is it true that you are the ones who are greedy for life and fear of death? Although Luosho's complexion was still pale, her tone was loud and loud. And he even used the radical method. It can also be seen that he is also very disappointed with the performance of these companions. Yes, don't you bare your heart and watch the Konoha shinobi enter the Kingdom of Wind. Then slaughter our compatriots, are there any companions? Yi Kang also stood up at this moment, and said bitterly. Although her strength at the moment is only the elite Jonin, she has not yet reached the cage level in the original book. But there is no doubt that her strength is among the top 5 in this headquarters. Hoo. Okay, fight with Konoha. 18 years later, we are a hero again. Yes, isn't it death? As ninjas, don't we experience too little? Seeing that the 3 most powerful people all stood together. After being silent for a while in the command center, some people began to stand out with gritted teeth and angrily. As more and more people expressed their views, the flustered atmosphere in the headquarters began to gradually warm up. Seeing this situation, Chiyo was relieved. At the same time, he secretly nodded his approval to Luosho and Yi Kang's performance. The current Sunagaku really needs the 2 of them too much. This kind of person can play a leading role. If the 2 of them didn't stand up just now, and ridiculed. Although he can also control the scene. But morale will not be reinvigorated. Good. You are all heroes of Sunagaku. until everyone has expressed their views. Only then did Chiyo speak out, suppressing the anger of everyone. After that, he stopped talking, and directly ordered the disbanding of the meeting, so that they could start to assemble the team. The Jonin commanders left the headquarters and quickly dispersed. After a while, Sunagaku's army began to move closer to the center. In about 10 minutes, the Sand Shinobi were all assembled. Hearing that Konoha was coming again, everyone felt extremely heavy in their hearts. Although it is broad daylight at this time, the weather is also sunny. However, the Sand Shinobi felt that there were dark clouds all over the sky, coming from the direction of the country of fire. This made Sand Shinobi's army a very depressive atmosphere. Konoha, calling again. Just when Sand Shinobi's army all felt depressed, they were a little out of breath. Chiyo's voice suddenly exploded. Everyone was attracted by the sound and raised their heads to follow the prestige. I saw the Supreme Commander Chiyo-sama, standing on the sand pad, floating straight over. Konoha is calling again. Their strength is indeed very powerful. But you guys, would you like to see them break through the border and destroy your home directly? Would you like to see them breaking into the land of the wind and hurting your compatriots? Think about the country of wind. Think about the families and people who need your protection. You tell the old man aloud, are you willing? Although Sand Shinobi provoked this battle, they belong to the aggressor. But at this critical moment, Chiyo can't manage that much. As long as it can arouse the only fighting spirit of the Sand Shinobi, how can it turn black and white? Chiyo's sentence, fierce and angry rhetoric, unblocked from above the sky, communicated to every Sand Shinobi's ears. The depression in the hearts of Sand Shinobi's army, under the voice of her encouragement, began to gradually turn into anger. No, labor and management are not willing. Labor and management are not willing either. Defend the country of wind, hit Konoha. The first person began to roar, and then a chain reaction broke out. The depressed atmosphere was quickly swept away. The haze shrouded in everyone's hearts transformed into an anger that resisted to the end. Okay, you are all heroes who defend your home and the country. The old man is here, solemn promise to you. If anyone is unfortunately killed in battle, then the village will never treat your family badly. Seeing that Sand Shinobi's fighting spirit was aroused again, Chiyo nodded with satisfaction. In order to prevent them from being defeated by Konoha again in the battle, Chiyo also solemnly promised everyone. And the purpose, naturally, is to hope that all of them will no longer have any worries. Only in this way can they not shrink back in fear when facing powerful enemies. Pata pata, pata, puffs of smoke were raised on the ground. Near the border of the Kingdom of Wind, the geographical environment began to become desolate. Without trees and grass, you can see whether there are ambushes in the surrounding area at a glance. It seems that Sand Shinobi village is planning to fight back. Zhaojian, who was running ahead, slowly opened his eyes. The scene where Chiyo encouraged Sand Shinobi's morale before was completely captured by his Kagura's eyes. Although he was not there, he could clearly feel the drastic changes in the morale of Sand Shinobi's army. Oh, Sand Shinobi executives, what are you doing? Hearing Zhaojian's words, Orochimaru turned his head in confusion and asked. And a few steps behind, the Jonin commanders also pricked their ears curiously. At this time, there was still not a short distance from Sand Shinobi's position. Therefore, ordinary perception ninjas still cannot perceive the location of Sand Shinobi's position. Only Zhaojian and Kushina can easily cover things more than 10 kilometers away. That fellow Chiyo, under the banner of defending the home and the country, reawakened the fighting spirit of the Sand Shinobi. After her encouragement, the Sand Shinobi at this moment are all determined to die. Zhaojian answered slowly, his voice also a little emotional. He also didn't expect that, after Chiyo's several counterattacks, the Sand Shinobi would undergo such a huge change. At this time, their morale was more condensed than when they attacked Kikyo Castle. Can Sunagaku still have a face? Obviously they are the invading party, they still have a face. In the name of defending the home and the country. That's right, to defend the home and the country. Are they worthy of starting the war? It's really shameless. After listening to Zhaojian's words, the group of Konoha Jonin commanders immediately began to yell in indignation. No one does not feel shameless for the actions of Sand Shinobi village. So it seems, this will be a tough fight. Orochimaru thought for a while, then sighed. Sunagaku's actions are indeed shameless. But since they are all determined to die, then this battle will not be so easy. At least one's own casualties will never be as low as in the previous war. Hearing Orochimaru's words, the Jonin who cursed Sand Shinobi behind also became silent. Sand Shinobi they are facing now is like a hungry wolf's dying counterattack. Its combat power is better than ever. What? Pata pata pata. Over time, the desolate land gradually turned into soft sand. The teams on both sides also saw each other far away. Because in the endless desert, nothing can hinder the line of sight. Enter the state of combat readiness. The setting sun was really red and shouted loudly. Jonin following Zhaojian and Orochimaru. It was also at this time that they gradually slowed down and went to lead their respective teams. Soon after the Jonins, only the acting commander-in-chief Uchiha and Kushina were left. Pata pata. Zhaojian also deliberately slowed down. From Orochimaru's side, back to Kushina's side. Kushina is not running at the moment, she is still flying with bamboo dragonflies. Hey Kushina, are you better now? Lowering his voice, Zhaojian asked Kushina in a low voice with a voice that could only be heard by two people. No, it's okay. Kushina shrank her neck, her face a little red. She naturally knew what Zhaojian meant. If you can't, don't try to be aggressive. I feel tired, so I obediently retreat to the back of the team, understand? Zhaojian muttered the novel with a serious face. After all, this battle is different. Sand Shinobi now have a slight collective suicide in their hearts. This kind of enemy is often the most terrifying. Ming, understand, hear Zhaojian's instructions. Kushina was sweet in heart and nodded obediently. At this time, Zhaojian said what she did, quite a feeling of obedience. Seeing that Ju responded, Zhaojian nodded as well. Then he accelerated again and ran to the front of the team, beside Orochimaru. The distance between the two parties was getting closer and closer, and they were soon separated by 200 meters. Kill, kill, with a loud shout, it sounded from Sand Shinobi's side. Then Sand Shinobi also charged together. Even Luosho, who had not healed from his injuries, floated above the center of the team. Zhaojian and Orochimaru accelerated almost simultaneously. And the brigade in the rear distanced again. The responsibilities of the two of them are the same as the last time they fought. Just take the lead and hit Sunagaku's team. No need for them to pay attention to the rest. Asterisk, fun Konoha's team also roared. The voices of both sides impacted each other. For a time, there were even various small animals lurking in the desert. They were all so scared that they got out of the sand and fled quickly to the left and right. Summoning technique. Orochimaru sprinting beside Zhaojian. After biting his finger, he suddenly pressed on the sand. The huge smoke burst out of thin air. One snake also appeared again on the battlefield. Because Zhaojian and Orochimaru were running together, good Jiao Jiao, the moment 10,000 snakes appeared. Both of them were lifted up by Wan Shi's head. Orochimaru, you guy is calling again. It turns out that Lord Zhaojian is also there. Wan Shi wanted to complain. However, the moment he sensed that Zhaojian was there, he immediately died down. Punch, 10,000 snakes. Pointing to the front, the Sand Shinobi who were roaring all over the sky, Zhaojian lowered his head and said lightly to Wan Shi. Okay, Lord Zhaojian. Wan Shi's snake eyes shrank, then nodded and dived forward. Wan Shi, you bastard, who is your master? Scary. Seeing Wan Snake being so obedient and polite to Zhaojian, Orochimaru suddenly felt sore. Chapter 129. Hey, I'll be a laser turret. Boom rumble. Wan Snake greeted the Sand Shinobi at Zhaojian's greeting. The speed was so fast that the surrounding yellow sand was rushed to the sides and splashed everywhere. It's like water splashing from a car pressing on a waterway. Bakichang Guyu. Zhaojian's arms gathered in front of his chest. The dazzling light also began to gather. I failed to observe Zhaojian closely during the last battle. So at this moment, seeing Zhaojian preparing to do something, Orochimaru also turned his head and looked over. However, at such a close distance, the dazzling light dazzled his eyes so that nothing could be seen clearly. In desperation, Orochimaru could only turn his head to the side again. Yes, Wan Shi is extremely fast. When it rushed in front of Sand Shinobi, Zhaojian's big move just happened to be completed. His legs slammed on Wan Shi's head. Zhaojian's body immediately rushed out toward the sky ahead. And Wan Shi also made a sudden stop at this time and brought Orochimaru to a hurried stop. Wind style side weasel technique. Fire style great fireball technique. Earth style earth flow wall. Since Zhaojian began to accumulate energy, Sand Shinobi had already noticed him. And at this moment, he is like a dazzling sun rising to the sky. Sand Shinobi also rushed to release their own masters of ninjutsu. Some people are fighting back, some are defending, and some are evading. All kinds of ninjutsu, and Zhaojian above the sky, rushed up together. And at this time, Zhaojian also opened his hands suddenly. The dazzling light flare shot down at this moment. Boom, 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 rumble. The attacks of both sides violently collided in midair. All kinds of colors filled the sky in an instant. The golden light is the most eye-catching color. Wind style palm, wind style ranet, wind style wind killing array. Ninjutsu and light bullets kept colliding in the air. And the Sand Shinobi below are relaying each other, sweating profusely. For a time, most of Zhaojian's light bombs were blocked in midair. Only a small part broke through the gap and exploded on the ground below. Boom, 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 rumble. But how can such a large area of tricks be so easy to defend? Sand Shinobi rely on ninjutsu, relay block. It is impossible to cooperate so tacitly all the time. After a few short relays, the rhythm of the Sand Shinobi began to get confused. At this time, Zhaojian suddenly increased the number of light bombs. Sand Shinobi relied on the block of ninjutsu relay, and they were broken by the light bullet in an instant. Spread. Luosho floated behind and yelled. However, Zhaojian's light bomb is very fast. After breaking through the Sand Shinobi's ninjutsu defense, they reached the ground immediately. Rumble, rumble. The dazzling light bomb burst in Sand Shinobi. The photon formed a golden flame. In an instant, the entire area below was filled. Countless Sand Shinobi are also shrouded in golden light at this moment. Under the continuous bombardment of dense light bombs, the yellow sand was blown up everywhere. It was accompanied by countless bloody stumps and broken arms. In just one big move, dozens of Sand Shinobi were buried under Zhaojian again. On the sandy ground bombed by light bombs, no one stood still alive. This is because Sand Shinobi knows great and deliberately disperse the team a lot, otherwise the loss of life will at least double. Kill Sand Shinobi in other locations. ACDA. With a dull expression, he glanced at the area bombed by light bombs. Then he continued to charge Konoha's army. Sand Shinobi, who came from the rear of the bombing area, also bypassed Zhaojian directly from both sides. All Sand Shinobi are one pair, and they don't want to pay attention to the appearance of Zhaojian. A large, unmanned vacuum zone was emptied directly around him. What's the situation? Zhaojian, who had fallen from the air to the ground a long time ago. It was also a pity for Sand Shinobi's actions at this time. Do these Sand Shinobi directly ignore themselves? Zhaojian-kun. It seems that Sand Shinobi, even though they are determined to die. But they don't want to. They will be ruined in your hands for nothing. Catch up with Orochimaru, and saw Sand Shinobi's actions, they couldn't help but be amazed. Although there have been countless wars in World War II. But he had never seen such a rare scene. Grip. Zhaojian exploded a bit speechlessly. He originally wanted to have a massacre. After earning 100,000 prestige points, we will have another high-level lottery. But now these Sand Shinobi are hiding from themselves like a god of plague. Then I killed the enemy myself, but it was much slower. Zhaojian-kun, this is a great honor. Seeing Zhaojian depressed, Orochimaru gave a hoarse smile. He was a little bit envious of Zhaojian's deterrent at the moment. I'll just be a ruthless laser turret. After a wry smile, Zhaojian jumped up and came to the top of Wan Shi again. Since Sand Shinobi didn't dare to approach, they didn't have to rush to kill anything. Because that's not as fast as using a laser to kill the enemy directly on the top of one snake's head. Go on 10,000 snakes. Zhaojian lifted his toe and patted the snake with the sole of his foot. Okay, Lord Zhaojian, sit down. Hearing Zhaojian's instructions, Wan Shi immediately responded. Then he leaned over to the Sand Shinobi, and quickly rushed out again. Wan Snake, you have changed. How do you feel arrogant when you treat me? Seeing Wan Shi obediently and licking a dog, Orochimaru was standing on top of Manzan, whose hair was messed up by the wind. Boom, 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 the armies of both sides collided. There was another round of ninjutsu hedges flying all over the sky, in order to prevent Zhaojian from killing his own personnel on a large scale. So Sand Shinobi's senior management has spread the scope of this battlefield to a large extent. And Konoha's team, under the leadership of their respective Jonin command, opened a distance and faced Sand Shinobi, the border between the country of fire and the country of soil. Deep underground, in a dark and empty grotto, an old man with white hair and a decadent aura was sitting on a stone chair. On his back, there are 3 wooden white tubes, and the other end of the white tube was connected to a huge statue not far behind him. A steady stream of energy was conveyed from the inside of the statue along the white tube to the old man sitting on the stone chair, maintaining his Kuchiki-like body at this time. He is Uchiha Madara, a legend that once shocked the ninja world, but in the history of the ninja world, it has long been confirmed to be dead. People give the nickname Ninja Shura. Hashirama, I have found the person to carry out my plan. Wait, I will let you know that my method is correct. Uchiha Madara closed her shriveled eyelids and muttered to herself. If in this world, who is the person who worries him the most, it is definitely Senju Hashirama. The two have known each other since childhood and are close friends. And they all possess the powerful strength and the same ideals that stun the ninja world. But in the end, Madara lost to Hashirama by a big margin, which made him worry about it all the time. Master Madara. It didn't take long for Madara to finish her intermittent voice. A half-black and half-white figure slowly emerged from the ground in front of him. It is Black Zetsu and White Zetsu. Master Madara, we met a very interesting Konoha shinobi on the battlefield of Konoha. That guy actually defeated the 5,000-man team of Sand Shinobi Village by himself. It's really amazing. White Zetsu exaggerated, while his hands were still gesticulating. It's like being afraid of Uchiha Madara, not knowing what he meant. Oh, man, did you defeat the team of 5,000 people? Hearing White Zetsu's words, Uchiha Madara couldn't help but opened his old eyes slightly. Such an amazing record was indeed enough to surprise him. And Konoha has such a powerful presence, which is likely to hinder his project Tsuki no Mi. Yeah, wherever that guy hits, all Sand Shinobi ran away. And his ability is really cool, shiny, so dazzling. White Zetsu continued to make gestures, with a very funny and exaggerated voice. Golden ability. Hearing what White Zetsu said, Uchiha Madara frowned in confusion. Once in the ninja world period, what ability has he not seen? But he had never heard of the glittering ability. We lurked into Konoha's position and deliberately inquired. It is said that he developed a new ability he himself developed during the war and was named Guang Dun by him. This light escape not only has a very huge destructive power, but also has some hydration techniques similar to the Ghost Lamp family, which can be immune to all physical attacks. This is how he can defeat the 5,000 Sand Shinobi Brigade alone in a war. Seeing Uchiha Madara's doubts, Black Zetsu answered before White Zetsu. Because of the character of White Zetsu, his words are very unreliable. If he is asked to explain, it is likely to be a long story, without directly telling the most important information. Can the secret technique similar to the Ghost Lamp clan be immune to physical attacks? While Uchiha Madara muttered to herself, she also recalled the abilities of the Ghost Lamp clan. Yes, Black Zetsu continued. Moreover, that guy's light escape seems to have no attribute restraint. He is on the battlefield, hit by any attribute attack, and he is unharmed. What? No attribute restraint? When I heard that his biggest reliance was only the secret technique similar to the Ghost Lamp, Uchiha Madara looked down on it a little. Illustration. Because of the secret technique of the Ghost Lamp clan, although it is immune to physical attacks, it is correct. But that kind of technique also has obvious restraint. As long as you apply lightning style, you can easily break the opponent's immunity. But I didn't expect that. What kind of light escape? There is no attribute restraint. Yes, there is no attribute restraint. Black Zetsu replied solemnly again. Not to mention Uchiha Madara. Even he was trying to save his mother. Hidden behind the scenes of ninja for thousands of years, I have never seen such a weird ability. What's that guy's name? After understanding Zhaojian's ability, it was indeed a bit tricky, Madara asked. He would never ask the other person's name for people he generally despised. And he took the initiative to ask for the name. That undoubtedly represents his attention. This is also the reason why the black-white Zetsu didn't report the opponent's name at the beginning. Baiyun Zhaojian. Both black Zetsu and white Zetsu spoke at the same time, and both of them were stressed. Civilian ninja. After thinking about it, Madara questioned. Because this surname is not only in Konoha, even in the entire ninja world, it is not a big family. It's a civilian ninja, but his abilities are really cool, Lord Madara. White Zetsu replied first, and after speaking, it was still weird, compared to an action that was flashed so that he couldn't open his eyes. You usually pay more attention to his information. Madara didn't care about White Zetsu's actions, but nodded and ordered. Since Konoha has this kind of strange ability, it might indeed cause a slight threat and hindrance to his plan. This can't help him belittle the carelessness. Master Madara, don't worry about that. I left several clones of spores in Konoha camp. White Zetsu said with a smile, his voice full of pride. On the battlefield of Konoha and Sunagaku. At this moment, the battle between the two sides has lasted for nearly an hour. Although the Sand Shinobi had already shown a clear defeat, because of the encouragement of thousands of generations before the war, the Sand Shinobi were not directly defeated at this time. They were still gritting their teeth and insisting on fighting hard to resist. Laser rays. Shoo, 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 boom, boom, boom. Zhaojian's hands formed a gun shape, and his index finger kept shining with golden light. The laser also continued, shooting out from his fingers. At this moment, he is a real mobile fort. The enemies there are dense, and he will go there. Provide fire support to the Konoha Shinobi. As another main force, Orochimaru is dealing with Chiyo and Rosa at the same time. Due to the damage of the puppet, the strength of the other two has dropped by several percent. The other person is still recovering from a serious injury. So the two teamed up at the same time to stop Orochimaru's attack alone. Boom, boom, boom. The dazzling golden light continued to flicker on the battlefield. And the number of Sand Shinobi's team, also under the explosion of the photon, continued to decrease. Listening to the explosions and howls from time to time in the ears, no one in Sand Shinobi's team was shocked. But even so, no one retreated. There is even more no one daring to kill at the source of the laser. Because the people who couldn't bear the fear before rushed up, they all lost their lives in vain. Therefore, the Sand Shinobi at this moment would rather take a Konoha Shinobi to bury them. I don't want to provoke that guy who kills like water. Chiyo, do you really intend to ruin all the remaining companions in this war? You don't think about it, will you end after Sand Shinobi, 380. Orochimaru dealt with Chiyo Luosho, while Yi teased and laughed. The toughness of Sand Shinobi village also amazed him. Obviously everyone is afraid of being killed. But there was no one want to retreat and escape. On the contrary, some Sand Shinobi fought back vigorously before dying, trying to pull the Konoha Shinobi back. This scene flickered in Orochimaru's eyes from time to time. It also shocked his inside. We, Sunagaku, will definitely block you. Chiyo was a little angry, but he answered without showing any weakness. This battle can be said to be Sunagaku, the most crucial battle. If they can stop Konoha's army, then they will be able to fight down afterwards. And let Sand Shinobi's morale become warmer again. But if they are defeated, or retreat and escape, then Sand Shinobi will no longer have the slightest resistance at all. So in this battle, they Sand Shinobi, although the casualties were huge. But they have no room to retreat. The hand of magnet-style golden sand. Just when Orochimaru and Chiyo were talking, a big hand suddenly got out of the ground and grabbed Orochimaru tightly. Don't say any more deceptive things. Sand Shinobi village is absolutely impossible. Go back, a half-step retreat. Rosa floating in the sky. After speaking, the hands pointed at Orochimaru suddenly clenched. Jinsha immediately squeezed Orochimaru directly on the spot. But Orochimaru opened his mouth a step earlier. Using the peeling substitute, escaped. Bewitching people. This is not deceptive or alarmist. Orochimaru, who escaped, smiled hoarsely. I have probably guessed the purpose of your insistence. But have you ever thought about it? Even if you hold on to it, the moment when Konoha is defeated. But at that time, how many people will stay in your Sunagaku team? And don't you forget, right and left of your country of wind, there are also the 2 countries of soil and water watching it. They like to do things like people in danger. But they won't refuse things like falling into the ground, presumably. Orochimaru said with a smile. Although he is not the protagonist, he does not have the blessing of the ability to escape from the mouth. Illustration. But what he said is all the truth. And facts are always better than eloquence. Orochimaru's words. Both Chiyo and Luosho in the air were surprised at the same time. These 2 days have been on the front line. I was thinking about how to deal with Konoha. I never thought that the country of soil and the council of water would not invade one's own side. At this moment, after this thought suddenly appeared in their minds, the hearts of both of them began to gradually become uncomfortable. Now I realize that it's not too late. As long as you Sunagaku surrender, then we can give up and let you go back. Orochimaru said with a hoarse voice and smiled. The facial changes of Chiyo and Luosho were clearly captured by him. Surrender? Are you dreaming? Chiyo, who was originally worried, heard Orochimaru's words, and suddenly became angry again. Then he attacked Orochimaru directly again. Compared with other hidden villages, Konoha's hatred makes Chiyo's heart. So when she heard the word surrender Konoha, she couldn't help but writhe with anger. Boom, 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 the 2 fiercely fought together again. The aftermath of the cage-level collision continued to surround the 2 of them. However, Luosho did not go forward to support the battle, but was stunned in the air, thinking sharply. Compared to Chiyo's head dazzled by hatred, he is obviously more sober and more sensible. Buzzing. The dazzling golden light kept flickering on Zhaojian's index finger. He has maintained this position for a minute. But it was too late, and no laser was fired. Because Sand Shinobi found that most of those who died under Zhaojian were companions who were far away from Konoha Shinobi. In a hand-to-hand battle with the Konoha Shinobi, the laser never comes. So Sand Shinobi quickly understood Zhaojian's scruples. That guy was afraid that the explosion of the laser would affect his companions in Konoha village. After understanding Zhaojian's concerns, Sand Shinobi immediately abandoned ninjutsu and ranged attacks, and all joined the hand-to-hand combat. This made Zhaojian very embarrassed. This is also the reason why he has not shot the laser for a long time. It's really troublesome. Isn't this forcing me to use the knife? Wei Wei sighed helplessly with a sigh. Zhaojian waved away the light from his fingertips. Then he folded his hands in front of him, and suddenly slashed left and right. A big sword gleaming with golden glow, instantly condensed in front of him. Snapped, raised his hand and grabbed the hilt of the lightsaber. Zhaojian jumped off from the top of Wan Shi's head. The convenience of Devil Fruit's battles made him a little bit reluctant to fight with Kendo. Because the physical energy consumed by running around is more intense than the energy consumed by using the fruit all the time. Exactly. After falling to the ground, Zhaojian crushed the ground with 1 foot. Then he shot at the Sand Shinobi who were fighting against the Konoha Shinobi. He has not yet developed the ability to teleport. Illustration. So his action at the moment is still running with his legs. Chapter 131. Everyone, all into hand-to-hand combat. The command of Sand Shinobi Jonin resounded. Then the voices one after another gradually spread to the entire battlefield. The explosion of golden light stopped for nearly a minute or so. This undoubtedly confirmed them that Zhaojian was indeed caring about Konoha's companion. Kill. The bombing that resembled Shinigami bells stopped and shocked all Sand Shinobi. The fierceness of the body was suddenly improved by 3 points at this moment. For a while, the Konoha Shinobi people felt a sudden increase in pressure. Ha ha ha, it turns out that the safest place is beside you Konoha Shinobi. A Jonin from Sunagaku was laughing wildly. In his hands, each holds a handful of kunwu. Because the depressed time was too long, it suddenly broke out at this time, and even shook Naruto back a few steps. What? Puff. Just when he was extremely proud, a golden slash suddenly broke through the air. In an instant, he threw his head straight away. A pillar of blood rose from his neck. The blood spewed out like a volcanic eruption. The sudden change shocked Naru for a long time. He quickly turned his head and looked in the direction where Zanshin was flying. I saw that Zhaojian had already rushed down from the top of Wanshi's head for some unknown time. At this time, he was brandishing a big golden sword, rushing wildly in the melee. "Run, Konoha is coming here." I don't know who wailed, and the nearby sand shinobi suddenly panicked. I don't know who Zhaojian took out this name. But there is no doubt that this name is nothing short of a nightmare for sand shinobi. Puff, puff, puff. Just when the sand shinobi were in a panic, Konoha's ninjas also seized this flaw one after another. The various weapons in his hands were sent directly to the enemy's vitals. This deterrence is really huge. After witnessing this scene, Naruto was amazed for a while. He felt that at this time, even if it was called Five Shadows, it is estimated that there is no such name, which can make sand shinobi feel so scared and flustered. Because this is the psychological shadow of Zhaojian's mass murder of sand shinobi in the past few days. This made sand shinobi, as soon as they heard his name, they were frightened. See Zhaojian slaying towards the battlefield on the right. Naruto thought for a long time, then rushed out to the left quickly. And in his mouth, he imitated the shrill scream, yelling, "Konoha flash to kill," and other words. Pause. Sand shinobi's 3-point morale finally improved. Once again by Zhaojian's name, he was ruthlessly defeated. And panic. It has also become more intense than before. Konoha's ninjas, the increased pressure, also dropped sharply at this time. There were also some Konoha shinobi who seized the opportunity to kill them on the spot while the sand shinobi were upset. Originally it was a fairly well-rounded scene. In an instant, because of Naruto's small plan, he began to drift away. Konoha's ninjas yelled in excitement when they heard Lord Zhaojian kill. Konoha's morale was also at this moment, and suddenly, it surged violently. It is in sharp contrast with the sharply reduced momentum of the sand shinobi. Kill. Tahi Junhong glanced at Naruto approvingly, and then began to roar in command. At this time, the battle broke out between the two sides. More than an hour has passed. The advantage of sand shinobi, which had a few hundred more people than Konoha, has already gradually flattened out. At this time, I passed Naruto and used the name Zhaojian to shock the sand shinobi. Immediately let sand shinobi's team lose another wave of numbers. So now, sand shinobi is at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. A battle for which they had no hope of victory. In an instant, it was like a collapsed building, no longer able to revolving heaven. Kill. The Konoha shinobi are very powerful. They roared and roared, responding to Yuri Junhong's command. Then again, he directly pounced on the surrounding sand shinobi. The number of teams is dominant, and after the emergence of a 2-on-1 situation, the advantage has begun to expand. Sand shinobi also moved back unconsciously at this moment. Puff, puff, puff. Golden slash. In Zhaojian's hands, he was constantly being swung out. The battlefield on the right, because of his personal presence. Therefore, the shock to sand shinobi was even greater than the battlefield on the left. Many sand shinobi screamed in horror when they glanced at Zhaojian. The scene was chaotic for an instant, and sand shinobi escaped everywhere. They face the Konoha shinobi and can remain fearless. But when facing Zhaojian, no one didn't feel that their hearts were getting fuzzed. Almost instinctively, he fled back directly without thinking through his head. However, Konoha shinobi, naturally impossible, let them retreat easily. The opportunity to beat a dog in the water is not always available. Countless Konoha shinobi practitioners rushed up in an instant, killing most of sand shinobi who wanted to escape on the spot. The situation, which was barely equal, changed drastically in an instant. The roar of the Konoha shinobi people resounded across the sky at this moment. The violent movement immediately attracted the attention of Luosho in the sky behind sand shinobi. Magnet-style placer gold boundary method. Luosho shouted anxiously. Then his hands were facing the ground. Orochimaru, who was fighting Chiyo, suddenly waved over. Countless sharp placer gold broke through the ground like bamboo shoots. Instantly pushed Orochimaru back to Chiyo's side again. Chiyo-sama, hurry up and announce the retreat. Luosho quickly landed next to Chiyo. Her voice was extremely anxious and urgent. He still overestimated the sand shinobi army's fear of Zhaojian. Before Zhaojian came down from the top of Wan Shi's head, everything seemed very normal. But when he participated in the battle, the situation turned into a one-sided situation in an instant. This is what he didn't expect. What are you saying? Chiyo turned his head and stared at Luosho angrily. She didn't expect it either. Luosho was the first to speak out against the retreat. Now unexpectedly, the first one spoke to ask for retreat. If you retreat now, Sunagaku is equivalent to losing the battle. Master Chiyo, we have already lost. At this time, we should announce our retreat and save the remaining companions. Luosho raised her hand sadly and waved. A sand pad instantly lifted Chidai up again. Then the two flew high again and floated up high in the sky. Luosho knows Chiyo's strong hatred of Konoha. So he didn't give much comfort, only wanted her to witness the battle at this time with her own eyes. I hope she can suppress private grudges and save the lives of Sunagaku's surviving compatriots. Watching Luosho lift Chidai up in the sky, Orochimaru below suddenly looked gloomy. He almost took Chiyo down just now. But this Luosho is like a shit-stirring stick. Every time when he was about to succeed, he would always come out to stir up a bit and force him to retreat. And the other party was very cautious, staying above the sky all the time. Orochimaru, who has no air combat capability, has nothing to do with him. This made Orochimaru feel an unusually uncomfortable suffocation in his chest. In my heart, I also hate my teeth. Hoo hoo hoo. Under Luosho's magnet-style sand pad. Chiyo rose higher and higher with Luosho, and her vision became wider and wider. However, Chiyo's mood was exactly the opposite, and gradually sank to the bottom. At this time, the two of them had ascended to a height of 100 meters. The entire broad battlefield was shrouded in sight. The scene of the sand shinobi fleeing tragically was also imprinted in their minds. On the left side of the battlefield, sand shinobi were fighting and retreating. However, Konoha, who was dominated by the number of people, swarmed and immediately drowned and killed. The right side of the battlefield is even more exaggerated. Zhaojian, holding the golden light, was sprinting to kill the enemy all the way. Wherever they went, the sand shinobi fled around in shock. It's like a hungry wolf breaking into the chicken coop. No rooster dared to challenge the hungry wolf. The sand shinobi who ran away in a hurry were also full of flaws. He was quickly killed by other Konoha shinobi. The number of sand shinobi on the entire battlefield is drastically decreasing. According to the current speed, it is estimated that it will not take long before sand shinobi will be completely killed. It's over. Sand shinobi village was completely defeated. Chiyo stunned, as if he was getting several years old in an instant. The state of sand shinobi at this moment, not to mention resisting Konoha's army. Even whether it can escape the massacre of the Konoha shinobi is another matter. Chiyo-sama, give an order ideographic comma. Since the war with Konoha, we have already suffered a very heavy loss, and we can't let other villages take advantage of it. Seeing Chiyo see the situation clearly, Luosho urged anxiously. Then they waved their hands, and the two descended again. After this war, Sunagaku may and will face a more serious crisis. So now they can no longer have too many losses. You come to order. An old tear came out of Chiyo's eyes. At this moment, she is really haggard physically and mentally. In the wars of previous years, weren't they fought for a few months, or even years? But this time, it was beyond everyone's expectations. A war that I thought would be at least a few months old, but the winner was decided by the fact that it was so drifting. This made her feel a burst of unreal feeling. It's as absurd as a child's play. Okay, let me order it. Seeing Chiyo's state, Luosho sighed. Illustration. This war is a failure, and who is most disappointed in Sunagaku? Needless to say, it is the one beside him. Listen to all sand shinobi, now. Retreat all to me. When the two descended to a height of 30 meters, Luosho yelled. Since the injury had not fully recovered, after shouting aloud, he felt a hot sensation in his chest. But at this moment, he can no longer take care of that much. Enduring the tearing pain in his chest, he yelled again several times. This allowed his voice to spread to the entire battlefield. Now I want to retreat, it's too late. Give me, kill. The voice reached Yuri Junhong's ears. He immediately waved his hand and ordered with a cold expression on his face. Before Zhaojian hadn't come down from the top of Wanshi's head, Konoha also had many companions who were buried in the hands of sand shinobi. At this moment, sand shinobi's defeat is set. How can they let them retreat so easily? Kill. FK. Sand shinobi had no morale at all. So after Luosho gave the order, everyone took it for granted and ran away. However, the Konoha shinobi, under the order of Yuri Junhong, wanted to chase and kill them. Suddenly, most of Sand Shinobi was dragged in place. Seeing this scene, Luosho jumped anxiously in the air. After struggling for a while, he stretched out his hand from the ninja bag and took out a handful of ration pills. Then, all of it was stuffed into his own mouth. "What are you doing?" Chiyo, who just turned his head to see this scene, suddenly yelled in horror. Although Bingliang pills can restore chakra, it is not this way of eating. Swallowing such a large amount of chakra will definitely damage your own cells. This may cause Luosho, and her strength will drop drastically in the future. I made them defend here. I can't save them. Yuantu chewed a few times like a jujube, and Luosho swallowed all the food pills in his mouth. At this moment, the muscles of his body began to move unconsciously. The surging chakra, the subjugation gushes frantically from his body. The clothes on his body were blown up by the over-heavy chakra. Seeing Luosho's state, Chiyo was shocked. Magnet-style quicksand storm. Luosho thought. He and Chiyo landed in an instant. Then he suddenly raised his palms and slapped them violently on the ground. Rumbling. The mountain shook violently. The surrounding desert of hundreds of meters good money instantly turned into a sea of sand. Then there were waves of sand in the sand sea, wave after wave, scrambling to the entire battlefield. The violent movement immediately attracted everyone's attention. And the Konoha shinobi who entangled Sand Shinobi, all stopped at this moment. As the sand waves hit, one wave after another was superimposed. In just a few breaths, the sand waves became tens of meters in height. Then it was overwhelming and turbulent, directly impacting everyone. Rewind. Illustration. Tari's red pupils shrank violently. Then he hissed to exhaustion, and roared again. The Konoha shinobi who reacted, can't take the Sand Shinobi into consideration. He turned around quickly and rushed out to the rear. Such a large area of sand waves, if they don't dodge backwards, they will definitely be buried alive. Boom boom boom. The sky is full of sand waves formed by the sand sea, and the sky is overwhelming. Konoha's army quickly retreated collectively. However, Sand Shinobi, as if they saw a savior, all rushed toward the surging sand sea. Master Zhaojian. A Konoha shinobi turned his head and glanced backward while running. It was discovered that Zhaojian did not choose to retreat. So instinctively reacted, he shouted a reminder. Hearing his voice, the ninjas running on the battlefield on the right all turned their heads. I saw Zhaojian's hands crossed across his chest. A lot of dazzling light is also rapidly condensing at this moment. This action instantly reminded the Konoha shinobi of Zhaojian's light bomb bombardment. Everyone stopped subconsciously at this moment. Just stand still and look at Zhaojian quietly. Hachichong Guyu. There was a burst of shout in my heart. Zhaojian's legs slammed on the ground. The moment the yellow sand splashed, his body instantly rushed to the sky. Rose's big move separated Sand Shinobi and Konoha. This is also a time for Zhaojian to use his abilities without scruples. So naturally he will not let go of this rare harvesting opportunity. A beam of golden light rose from the battlefield on the right to the sky. Instantly attracted the attention of Luosho, who was performing ninjutsu with both palms on the ground. Aware of Zhaojian, he wanted to forcefully kill Sand Shinobi. Rosha roared suddenly, increasing chakra's delivery. Blood began to gush from his nostrils. Luosho's face was also distorted at this moment. Boom 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 boom. The yellow sand in the sky is surging again. In an instant, Xiaolang increased by 1/3 again. Just now, the Sand Shinobi who ran towards the sand sea also rushed to the front of the sand waves. I saw the sand sea, and quickly set off a huge wave. In an instant, they jumped directly from the top of Sand Shinobi's heads. And all Sand Shinobi are all protected in the sand sea. Buzzing. In order to be able to hit the largest area, Zhaojian ACDA jumped directly to a height of 50 or 60 meters. The shining hands suddenly opened left and right at this moment. Shoo, 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 countless light bullets entrapped by thunder and lightning poured down like raindrops. At the Sand Shinobi who were protected by the sand sea, they slammed head-on. The scope is wide. It directly covers the battlefield on the right, 1/3 of the area. Boom 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 boom. Boom 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 boom. The golden light burst, and the thunder walked away. During the collision, the yellow sand was blown up and down. Shihai is also under constant bombardment. From a height of several tens of meters, it quickly began to become shorter. The sand shinobi in the sand sea protection felt the violent movement of the sand sea. All are horrified, look panic. Feeling that Shihai's defense is about to be defeated. Luosho yelled again. Bloodshot climbed up his pupils, and blue veins protruded violently from his neck. The yellow sand that protects the sand shinobi gradually glows with golden light. At this moment, the defense force has risen rapidly by several levels. Boom 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 boom. The sand sea that was originally quickly blown up by the light bomb. At this moment, slow down the sinking speed. But this is not over yet. Because of the Zhaojian light bomb, the bombing continued. Although the sand sea slowed down, it was also sinking gradually. Boom 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 boom. The gold dust was blown up everywhere, and golden light flew all over the sky. Within the scope of the explosion, it is like countless beautiful flowers blooming continuously. However, under the gorgeous appearance, there are a group of sand shinobi who are horrified to ultimate. Because they felt that the movement of Shihai was getting bigger and bigger. It was as if something was about to break through the sand sea. Boom, just in their thoughts, when it just came out of my mind. A light bullet also broke through the defense above their heads. Then among the sand shinobi crowd, it burst suddenly. Sand shinobi, who was trembling, hugged each other, was immediately buried under the explosion. Sudden changes made sand shinobi screaming everywhere. And more light bullets also broke through the defense at this moment and fell directly to their feet. Boom 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 boom. The flames produced by the burst of photons spread everywhere. The sand shinobi who were running around were hit by the wandering thunder and lightning, and they were instantly paralyzed on the spot. Then his body stiffened in place, and was quickly enveloped by the flames of the explosion. Countless howls and screams came from the center of the explosion. Behind and below Zhaojian, the Konoha shinobi who witnessed this scene also felt a tingling scalp. They can experience the desperate emotions in Sand Shinobi's voice. Rumble. The bombardment lasted more than 10 seconds. With the last light ejection, Zhaojian also fell from the air. In the bombed area at this time, the Sand Shinobi were out of 10. And fortunately, Sand Shinobi survived. Estimated for a lifetime. At this moment, they will be caught in a nightmare like Ashira field. Whirring. Unexpectedly, Luosho, that fellow could actually resist for so long. Zhaojian, who landed, took a few breaths. After some fighting, his physical stamina was not small. Especially the last big move with full force, almost instantly, drained his remaining physical energy. Pippi. Just when Zhaojian's ultimate move ended and he fell from the sky. Luosho behind the battlefield also suddenly opened her mouth and spit out a large mouthful of blood. Then he faced back and collapsed directly. Rosa. Chiyo yelled in horror. Then he quickly took hold of Luosho who was coughing up blood in his mouth. At this moment, Luosho looked extremely pale. There is already too much air out and less air intake. Retreat. Chiyo hissed exhausted and loudly reminded the Sand Shinobi who had been saved by Rosa. Then quickly picked up Luosho, and ran back quickly without looking back. Ha. Orochimaru was also forced to retreat by a big move. I don't know when, I ran over Wan Shi's head. After seeing Luosho's state at this time, he suddenly felt relieved with a breath of malaise in his heart. Luosho was originally a severely injured person. At this time, he was heavily loaded with drugs, and such a powerful chakra erupted. So at the moment, he must not live long. The moment Luosho fell. The yellow sand protecting Sand Shinobi also collapsed at this moment. As soon as countless Sand Shinobi got out of the sand, they heard Chiyo's scream of exhaustion. So they pulled out their bodies quickly, and ran backwards quickly. Chasing. Tari's really red shout also suddenly sounded at this time. The Konoha shinobi who had escaped Roshi's ultimate move also turned around and chased after him. Everyone's heart is very excited. This war with Sand Shinobi, at this moment can be considered to have come to an end. And they are the victorious side. What needs to be done now is to plunge into the territory of the Kingdom of Wind and force Sunagaku to sign the defeat treaty. Ah, Shabu, ah. Pata. Tari's red voice also reached the battlefield on the right. The Konoha shinobi on the right also immediately chased Sand shinobi who was running away. A fierce chase battle was staged in the territory of the Kingdom of Wind. More than 1,000 people Sand shinobi hurriedly fled in front. The Konoha army of more than 2,000 people followed closely behind the chase. The catharsis of various roars came from Konoha's army. Sand shinobi who flee are scared to run faster. The chasing time lasted until dusk, when Konoha's army stopped. Night falls. A new camp has been completed in the Realm of Wind. In the center of the camp, the largest tent is Konoha's new frontline headquarters at this moment. Brew, brew, brew. Brew, 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 brew. In the headquarters, as soon as everyone had counted the casualties of the battle, Zhaojian's phone worm suddenly rang. Because this is the first time for the senior officials to call the phone worm to the headquarters. So this is also the first time that Konoha's Jonin commanders heard the dialing sound of a telephone bug. Everyone turned their curious eyes to Zhaojian. They didn't realize it until Zhaojian took out the phone bug. Blue, 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 click. Moses Zhaojian-kun is there. After Zhaojian picked up the phone worm's microphone, Makoto's voice also rang. Cough cough. Makoto, I'm at the front command. Hearing Makoto's gentle voice, Zhaojian felt a little guilty, but at the same time he felt a little guilt in his heart. He hasn't figured out how to explain to the second daughter in the future. Zhaojian, how is the battle going? At this moment, the telephone worm's gentle expression suddenly changed its appearance. I imitated Sarutobi Hiruzen, with an anxious expression. The high-ranking patriarchs in the Hokage building, seeing third generation get to the point, all raised their ears. At this time, after they took a rest, their expressions obviously became more energetic. We have defeated Sunagaku's troops. And deep into the territory of the Kingdom of Wind, about 200 kilometers or so. If I didn't expect it to be bad, Sunagaku will come over and ask for peace soon. After hearing the words of third generation, Zhaojian answered truthfully. Then there was a burst of cheering from the phone worm. Although the senior officials have known for a long time that Konoha is almost a sure win situation in this battle, they are still very happy to get the exact news. What is the specific number of casualties? In the Hokage building, third generation raised his hand to suppress the voices of everyone and then asked again. Let's let Captain True Red report to you. We have just compiled the statistics here. Zhaojian replied to third generation. Then put the phone worm in front of Yuri Junhong. Master third generation. Tari Junhong picked up the data from the table, just collected the statistics, and then stood up. Well, it's really red, please report, we are all listening. Yes, hearing the words of third generation, Tari Junhong replied respectfully. Then he reported it slowly. In this battle, we cut the enemy, about 2,100 people. The number of prisoners, 193 people. After Tari Junhong said that he had captured it, there was another exclamation on the phone worm. However, it was stopped again by third generation. What about our casualties? Third generation asked, then held his breath. In this battle, Sand Shinobi was very vigorous before the battle. So our casualties are a bit larger than in the previous battle. The number of injured on our side in this battle. The number of people killed is 384. After Tari Junhong finished his report, the command center fell silent. As for the phone worm, there was also a brief silence. This was a moment of silence for the compatriots who died in battle. Although it was a big victory, no one would cheer at this time. That must be pointed out by humanitarianism. We get it. The heavy face of third generation was simulated by the phone worm. Then began to inquire again, some details of the battle. Upon hearing third generation's inquiry, Yuri Junhong also truthfully reported. As the real commander of the army in this battle, he had not participated in the battle before, but had been watching the situation of the battle. So no one knows the details of this battle better than him. From the beginning of the war to the end of the battle. From his mouth, one by one narration came out. In the Hokage building, Konoha's high-level leaders and patriarchs were also quietly listening. Hearing that Sand Shinobi didn't dare to fight Zhaojian, an unmanned vacuum area was directly vacated around him, and the high-level people all admired and sighed. Then I heard Sand Shinobi who gave Zhaojian the name Konoha Shinobi. Everyone was also very curious. Because they have not witnessed Zhaojian's ability, this also makes their minds full of various conjectures about Zhaojian. Speaking of the last Sand Shinobi, because of Zhaojian's personal action, they were scared to the point of splitting their guts. Tari Junhong also specially praised Narulukisa. Because he borrowed the name of Zhaojian to shock Sand Shinobi on the left battlefield, he also made a lot of credit. The Jonin commanders in the command post also admired Naruluji for a while. This guy is relying on his brain in this war. The credit is second only to Zhaojian and Orochimaru. Just when Konoha reported the situation of the war, Sunagaku's troops have also built a new camp. However, without the materials, they are still as simple and cold as before. Inside a large tent in the center of the position, all the surviving Sand Shinobi Jonin gathered here. Of course, their number has dropped sharply by 1/3 again. And in the tent, they are not the only ones, all the medical ninjas of Sand Shinobi are also crowded in the tent. Rosa, you can hold on to it. Yeah, Luosho, you can't do anything wrong. Looking at Luosho surrounded by medical ninjas, the Jonin commanders of Sunagaku all got their hearts out. If there is no Luosho's final big move, at this time, these people will survive, it is unknown. Precisely because of this, the 380 are grateful to Luosho in their hearts. It was Luosho who sacrificed herself to create a way of escape for them. Chiyo-sama, it's dying. Master Luosho's vitality is passing too fast. A medical ninja raised his head, his face was full of helpless bitterness. At this moment, 4 medical ninjas are using healing jutsu to treat the severely injured Luosho at the same time. However, there have been 2 waves of people in rotation, and Luosho's life state still hasn't improved a little bit. It's like an oil lamp runs out of wick, and it doesn't burn anyway. Let me come. Chiyo stood by and stopped to watch for a long time. In the end she sighed helplessly. Luosho was seriously injured and unhealed, coupled with his excessive gluttony. At this time, almost all the cells in his whole body wilted. Ordinary medical ninjutsu seems to be useless. Chiyo-sama, do you want it? A look of shock. It was the same medical ninja who spoke. His name is Shinuen Shijing, and he is the medical captain of the medical team. At this moment, Luosho was already in a state of powerlessness to revolving heaven. But Chiyo said to let her come. At this moment, Shijing thought of Chiandai's forbidden technique at the cost of life. Let me come. Chiyo sighed again. Then he took a step forward and slowly squatted down. No, you are our Fengyin agent. Just as Chiyo stretched out his hands, Shijing was anxious and grabbed her by the arm. The two have no head and no tail, full of weird conversations. Attracted the attention of everyone in the account in an instant. Shijing, what is going on? Yi Kang frowned and asked with a puzzled look. Because the actions of the two at this moment are really weird. Yi Kang, hurry up and stop Master Chiyo. Sir Thousand Generations, she wants to use her own reincarnation technique. Hearing Yi Kang's inquiry, Shijing turned his head anxiously. I was born and reincarnated. Everyone in the tent looked confused. Because of the name of this ninjutsu, they have never heard of it. Illustration. This is a forbidden technique that heals a living person and brings the dead back to life. But to perform this technique, you need to pay the price of life. Shijing answered anxiously. The technique of reincarnating oneself. It is a ninjutsu developed by Chiyo Kotsu not long after it was completed. This technique can not only resurrect the dead, but can even give life to the puppet. Chiyo originally planned to use this technique to resurrect Sasori's parents. But after the disappearance of Third Cage, the matter was temporarily put on hold. This also led to the fact that only one person who helped and participated in the development of the sand well knew about it. What? Ninjutsu at the cost of life? Master Chiyo, you. Everyone in the big account looked at Chiyo in horror. Just when they were about to stop, Chiyo suddenly uttered a voice. I'm getting old, and Sunagaku has lost a lot in this war. The current village may be facing even more difficult situations. So Sunagaku, you can no longer lose the important combat power of Luosho, and you don't have to dissuade me anymore. I have made up my mind. Chiyo broke free of Shijing's arm, and then said faintly. Although the voice is very soft, it is unquestionably strong. In fact, the defeat in this war has broken Chiyo's heart. So on the way she carried Luosho back. In her heart, she also struggled to think about it for a long time. In the end she made up her mind. If Luosho really does not work, then she will use the forbidden technique to save Luosho. Because after these few days of observation, Chiyo felt that Luosho would definitely lead Sunagaku in a better direction. Because Luosho is resourceful, and he can act decisively in case of trouble. This is a talent that she cannot possess as a person swayed by hatred. The most important thing is that Chiyo feels that he is old, and Luosho is in his youth and prime of life. The role of the two in the future of the village, Luosho also far surpassed her. Therefore, the originally discouraged Chiyo intends to contribute all his final value to his village. Chiyo-sama. No, Chiyo-sama. Yes, let's think of other ways. Chiyo's resolute words filled the big tent with an atmosphere of sadness. All of Sand Shinobi's heart was depressed. No need to persuade me, I have made up my mind. Chiyo's hands glowed with blue light and pressed against Luosho's chest. Then facing the sand well opposite to him, he said, if you don't have enough chakra for the old man, then you will be the first. Chiyo-sama. Seeing that Chiyo had begun to use the forbidden technique, Shijing's eyes were suddenly blurred by tears. Then facing Chiyo, he nodded vigorously. Ha ha. Seeing Shijing nodding, Chiyo suddenly smiled kindly. At this time, she is no longer an agent of Fengiying. It's not what it is, the tough and persistent village stories high. Now she is just an ordinary, amiable elder and old man. Chiyo-sama. Chiyo-sama. A burst of sorrowful crying resounded in the big tent. Everyone's eyes were blurred by tears. But Chiyo has decided to leave, and they obviously can't save it. Illustration. Okay, why cry? Chiyo smiled kindly and interrupted everyone. Then in the remaining time, I began to explain the funeral to them. And the first thing is to ask Konoha for peace as soon as possible. Because this is currently the most important thing in Sand Shinobi village, there is no one. This night, Konoha's position was filled with celebratory excitement. And Sand Shinobi's position is filled with depressing sadness. Although Luosho was indeed rescued. But they lost, Commander Sand Shinobi of this battle. After the consciousness returned to the body, Luosho was confused for a while, and then under the explanation of her companion, she understood the whole story. Then he also wailed loudly for a while. He already had dark circles under his eyes, and his eyes suddenly became even darker from crying. Early the next morning, after the sky is bright, Xian and Kushina walked out of a tent together. The relationship between the two of them broke through that step, so naturally there is no need to use two more tents. But this night, the two of them did nothing. Just rested for one night. After all, this is within the battlefield. And Kushina has not fully recovered. So Xian naturally cannot do something that hurts her. Master Xian, good morning. Master Kushina, good morning. On their way to the headquarters, Xian and Kushina again received greetings from a bunch of people. From the first time I was called an adult. Up to now, both of them have dealt with them very calmly. You don't need to answer, just nod your head to signal and it's over. And Konoha's ninjas, seeing Xian nod to themselves, they were all happy for a long time. This is the celebrity effect brought by the powerful strength and record. Everyone, do you want to continue the attack today? After the two entered the headquarters, Xian suddenly couldn't wait to ask. In a big battle yesterday, he killed more than 500 enemies and gained 30,000 points of prestige. At this time, his reserve of prestige has reached more than 93,000 points. The high-level draw of the 100,000 mark is just a step away. So he thought, if he could meet Sand Shinobi today, he would just step over it directly. Haha, no offense is needed today. I conclude that Sunagaku's envoy for peace is coming to Konoha's position at this moment. Naru sat in the position for a long time, and smiled with a relaxed look. The whole person is transparent, with a confident appearance. The other Jonin commanders nodded when they heard his words. Obviously, they are also convinced of Naruto's IQ. Oh, are you so sure? Xian couldn't help but be surprised. Although he also knew that Sunagaku would definitely surrender in the near future. But he did not expect such an accurate time point. It will take 2 hours at most before they will arrive. All right. Seeing Naru so confident, Xian sighed inwardly. Naruto's IQ is extraordinary, and it is estimated that he will say it in all likelihood. That being the case, the high-level draw can only be postponed a little longer. Funny. Thinking of this, Zhaojian also took Kushina and sat down together. Kushina, do you want snacks? I have nothing to do, and waiting is very boring. Zhaojian took out a bunch of various snacks directly from the system backpack and put them on Kushina's table. In recent lottery draws, many snacks have been drawn. Tekuno is no longer by his side, his snacks are in the system, and they are about to pile up into hills. Because the higher the level of the lottery, the amount of debris drawn is the same as the prestige value consumption, which is multiplied by 10 times. The snacks drawn in the high-level lottery are actually 1,000 packs. Zhaojian felt that at this moment, he was about to open a small shop. Specialized sales, various snacks and sundries. Boom. A small mountain of snacks hit Kushina's table. Not only was Kushina horrified, but everyone in the entire conference room was also stunned by Zhaojian's operation. What? Just in the entire conference room, after a second of silence. A tornado suddenly surrounded the conference table, and it blew down beside Zhaojian. The hairs of Zhaojian and Kushina were blown up in an instant. That, Captain Zhaojian, can you give me some snacks, just a little bit? Akamiki Dings's eyes beamed, staring at the snacks like a hill. The hands were constantly rubbing each other, looking very, very eager. I almost forgot, there is another guy in this conference room who has a better appetite than Tekuno. Looking at Akamiki as a daughter-in-law, she looked nervous. Zhaojian smiled suddenly, raised his hand and motioned. You take it yourself. There are several such small mountain snacks in Zhaojian's system backpack. So he was eager for someone to help eat them all. It's an eye-catcher to save it in the system backpack. Okay, thank you Captain Zhaojian. Akamiki Dingzo was overjoyed, hugged his arms, and directly took away a bunch. However, this pile is estimated to be about 1/10 of the number of hills. Everyone, since they are all waiting, then just pass the time. Seeing the others, who were staring at the table full of snacks in a daze, Zhaojian also greeted with a smile. After all, there are so many snacks, he and Kushina will definitely not be able to eat them all. After Zhaojian's voice fell, the atmosphere in the command post began to change. By the time Orochimaru and Urimaki arrived at the headquarters, it was as if a banquet was being held in the headquarters. Report. Time gradually passed by at the snack conference. About an hour and a half later, a ninja rushed into the headquarters excitedly. But after witnessing the table full of snacks, he was also momentarily sluggish. Report to adults, Sunagaku's messenger for peace is here. After reacting, the ninja who rushed in quickly reported. After hearing the ninja's report, Zhaojian raised his head and glanced at Naruto. This guy's IQ, the fruit is very powerful. Within 2 hours of talking, it really came. Who is here? Orochimaru sitting on the lord's seat. Putting down the dried apple in his hand, he raised his head and asked. After entering the conference room, he was also clicked by everyone, which aroused his appetite. So he also participated in the snack banquet for everyone. Sunagaku's Luosho, and leaves. Upon hearing Orochimaru's inquiry, Konoha Shinobi answered truthfully. What Luosho is still alive? Orochimaru's face was unbelievable. I felt as uncomfortable as if I had eaten flies. Even the dried apples at the table don't feel fragrant at this time. Yes, Rocha is indeed included, and his injury seems to be healed. Konoha Shinobi nodded and answered truthfully. In fact, at this moment, not only Orochimaru was unbelievable, but Zhaojian frowned. Because after the end of the battle yesterday, he also felt it with Kagura's eyes, and he did feel Luosho's air like a gossamer. Why is it that after only one night, not only did he not die, but healed and became a messenger for peace? Go and bring them in. After thinking about it, I still can't figure it out. So Orochimaru looked gloomy and ordered Konoha Shinobi. Yes, the Konoha Shinobi bowed in response, then turned and exited the command post. Before leaving, he secretly glanced at the table full of snacks, and his heart was full of weird colors. Clean up, the messengers of San Shinobi are here. Seeing the ninja exit the command post, Orochimaru thought for a long time. Turning his head, looking at the table full of snacks, he was also helpless and big head. It didn't take long. When everyone has cleaned up, the Konoha shinobi who left, also returned again. And Luosho and Ikang were also honestly following him at this moment. My lord, the messenger of Sand Shinobi is here. Come in. The sound from outside the door fell, and Orochimaru responded hoarsely. Immediately afterwards, the three of them entered the headquarters one after another. Everyone's eyes instantly gathered on Luosho and Ikang's body, as if a heavy burden, weighing their hearts extremely heavy. Time fell silent at this moment, and no one spoke. The scene has been so silent all the time. Orochimaru stared straight at Luosho, his scalp was about to break. But he didn't understand what happened to Luosho's unharmed state at this time. We Sunagaker, surrendered ideographic comma. The pressure on his shoulders became heavier and heavier. Luosho struggled a bit, and said directly to break the silence. The ghost knows how heavy the pressure is for him now. Sit down. Seeing Orochimaru seemed to be wandering beyond the sky, Yuri Junhong had no choice but to stand up. Although the two sides have been fighting on the battlefield for several days, everyone also hated each other in their hearts. But since they are messengers who come to ask for peace, the courtesy that should be given can't be left behind. Thanks a lot. After arching their hands, Luosho and Ikang were not hypocritical. According to Yuri Junhong's sign, the two sat at the long conference table in the seats at the rear. But after this one sat down. Both of them felt more pressure. At this moment, they were straight ahead, looking straight at the first seat, Orochimaru with a gloomy expression. Left and right, each is a row of Konoha's Jonin commanders. In the first seat on the left, Yuhi Mahong and Nara Shikahisa and others are in sequence. On the first seat on the right, Baiyun Zhaojian and Whirlpool Kushina, etc. The heavy pressure rushed to his face instantly. The breath of the two of them stopped unconsciously. In this war, our Sunagaker side was defeated. I came here this time mainly because I wanted to make peace with Konoha. ... After taking a deep breath, Luosho said in a heavy voice. At this moment, the palms of his and Ikang's hands were all wet with sweat. If it were not for the safety of the village, the two of them would have left this place long ago, which made them depressed and uncomfortable. Ha ha, are you sure? Can you represent Sunagaker? Orochimaru asked with a hoarse smile. At this time, he had been relieved from Luosho's safety and health. I am now the commander-in-chief of Sand Shinobi's front line. Is that not enough? Looking directly at Orochimaru on the opposite side, Luosho said slowly. Although the atmosphere at the moment was depressed, he was very uncomfortable. But as the negotiating party, the momentum can't be too much. This is the basic criterion of negotiation, and Luosho naturally knows it. You, Sunagaker, frontline commander, could that old fellow Chiyo be dismissed? Roshi's words made Orochimaru full of doubts. The Konoha Jonin present here also turned their curiosity and doubts to the two of Luosho. Open black lens bracket Chiyo, close black lens bracket. I heard Orochimaru talk about Chiyo's name. Zhaojian's mind suddenly seemed to catch something. With a flash of inspiration, he instantly understood why Luosho was safe and sound. If the guess is correct, it should be the forbidden technique in the original book where Chiyo saved Gaara. This is not in the scope of our negotiations. You only need to know that Luosho has this qualification. Luosho said lightly, and did not answer everyone's doubts. But from his performance and Ikang's complexion next to him, a trace of sadness flashed through. Immediately let Zhaojian be sure, the guess in his heart. Ha ha, you really have no obligation to tell us. In that case, let's talk about your intentions for peace. Orochimaru smiled hoarsely, then leaned back on the back of the chair and put his legs directly on the table. This negotiation is just a form of Sunagaker's surrender, which does not involve any defeated compensation treaty. That kind of thing was drawn up by the high-level villagers, and then passed to the high-level Sand Shinobi, and the two sides negotiated in detail. Seeing Orochimaru's random behavior, Luosho and Ikang frowned. But at the moment they are the good money losers. Even if I feel very uncomfortable, it is hard to say anything. In this war, we admitted that we were defeated. After taking a look at Orochimaru and the crowd, Luosho slowly said. The general content is that Sunagaker admitted that he was completely defeated, and hoped that Konoha could retreat. After the incident, their village will also give corresponding compensation. As for the content of the compensation, the two sides had to negotiate after the war. Bara. In the entire command center, there was only Luosho's voice, and Kang's supplements from time to time. Although all Konoha shinobi people were secretly happy, they didn't show the slightest expression. Until Luosho said it to the end, after finishing speaking. Only Orochimaru, Mahong and others negotiated. But Zhaojian didn't say a word all the time, just listening silently from the side. The negotiation meeting lasted more than an hour. Except that Orochimaru was a little uncomfortable with Luosho, who occasionally babbled him during the period. No accidents happened in the process. After the meeting, Tari is really read out of politeness. Personally sent Luosho and the two out. Just after the three of them left, the entire conference room suddenly burst into noise and cheers. A war is over, and everyone in the conference room. All the people who contributed to this war. The noise continued for a long time. The crowd gradually stopped. Then Zhaojian took out the phone worm and dialed out to the Hokage building. As for the meeting just now, why didn't it come out? Of course it is unnecessary. Soldiers against soldiers, generals against generals. Luosho at this moment, although Sunagaku's frontline commander. But they are also not qualified to face Konoha's senior executives directly. Blue, click, Moses Zhaojian-kun. The phone worm in the Hokage building called, and Makoto's voice suddenly came out. This made Zhaojian a little bit of guilt in his heart. I haven't spoken to Makoto for several days. After each call, the two talked. It was just a simple greeting when the phone was connected. Makoto, ask Mr. Third Generation to answer the phone. Suppressing the guilt in his heart, Zhaojian said with a face as usual. Okay, Zhaojian-kun, wait a moment. Makoto said softly. There seemed to be a little bit of regret in the voice. Zhaojian, what happened to the front line? After a while, amidst the phone bug, the noisy voices of Third Generation and the senior management came. Sunagaku has sent representatives to ask for peace. After seeing the appearance of the phone worm becoming Third Generation, Zhaojian also went straight to the subject. At this moment Konoha still has two battlefields. In the midst of a raging war, time cannot be delayed arbitrarily. Ha, good. Third Generation's laughter came from the phone. And said it 3 times in succession. Afterwards, in the meeting room of the Hokage building, there was also a sea of cheers. In this war, not only Sunagaku was defeated by surprise. The Konoha executives before, also did not expect that victory would come so quickly. Just about 10 days. When the war broke out to victory, it was over. This is the shortest and fastest battle ever fought in Konoha Jonkyun's history. Hearing the high-level laughter of the phone worm, the group of Konoha Jonin in the command post also laughed happily. Regardless of the various achievements after the war. This battle is over. On each of them, at least they have to record an S-level task reward. This is not enough. After all, wars involve nations between nations. Among the mission levels, it is almost the highest level mission. The cheers in the Hokage building lasted for a long time. Then, under the signal of Third Generation, it gradually stopped. Everyone in the command center, you are doing well, you are the heroes of Konoha village. After the phone worm stopped completely from the noise, Third Generation was full of respectful voices and praised it. The Jonins in the command post were all excited and quietly listening to the voice of Third Generation. However, thanks to Konoha, the war has not been completely ended. So at this moment, Third Generation, it was just a verbal commendation. After all, if you really want to give any substantive rewards at this time, the two sides will be separated from each other and cannot be given. Zhaojian Na. After the unanimous resolution of the village leaders, everyone intends to give you the greatest contribution, a very special honor. After complimenting everyone present in the headquarters, Third Generation finally talked about Zhaojian. Very special honor. Hearing the words of Third Generation, Zhaojian was very surprised and curious. The Jonins in the command center also listened with interest. They also want to know what honor the village will give, as Zhaojian who has done the most. Ha, what the honor is, the old ladies won't tell you for now. But we have sent this thing to the battlefield with Iwagakure. When you get there, you will naturally know what it is. Third Generation laughed haha. Congratulations from high-level patriarchs came from the phone worm. But no one revealed what honor it was. This made Zhaojian and the command Jonin very curious, and they were tickled in their hearts. So, next, am I going to the battlefield of Iwagakure? After being curious about the honor for a while, Zhaojian also asked. When he heard Zhaojian's words, the phone worm gradually fell into silence. After a while, third generation's serious voice came out of the phone worm again. Well, it's not just you. Everyone on your front line now. Except for the seriously injured. The rest must rush to support the other two battlefields. After third generation's words were finished, the command headquarters also fell into a heavy atmosphere. Yes, he and others defeated Sunagakure. But the war has not all ended yet. In the other two places in the country of fire, there are two stronger villages that are eyeing Konoha. I see. Right, where's Minato? After Zhaojian nodded in response, he suddenly thought of Minato, so he asked directly. If I remember correctly, in the original book, Iwagakure's battlefield was ended by Minato. Where is that guy now? Considering that the third Raikage of Cloud Shinobi Village is a ninja who is good at speed, I went to the battlefield of Cloud Shinobi Village dispatched by Minato. Although I don't know Zhaojian, why ask Minato? But third generation told the truth. That's it, I understand. After hearing third generation's answer, Zhaojian nodded again. Think about it too. At the speed of third Raikage and fourth Raikage in the future. At present, in the entire ninja world, it is estimated that there is only Minato, who can rely on Flying Thunder God to overwhelm them in speed. It seems that I have to develop the teleport ability as soon as possible. Zhaojian thought silently in his heart. Although his speed at the moment is already very fast among ninjas. But compared with Minato and Raikage, this kind of person who is good at speed, the speed is really not a little bit worse. Since at this moment, you are all in the headquarters. Then old ladies, take advantage of this time to give you the transfer order. After the phone worm was silent for a while, third generation said in a serious voice. Everyone in the command center heard the words of third generation, and they all fell silent. After all, next, it matters to them, which battlefield they will go to rush to help. The battlefield of Iwagakure is supported by Zhaojian. And after arriving at the frontline battlefield, Zhaojian took over as the commander-in-chief of the battlefield. After the appointment of Zhaojian, third generation started to assign Zhaojian to the team. At this time Konoha position in the territory of the Kingdom of Wind. Except for the companions who have been killed and severely wounded and can no longer fight. Konoha's team roughly left about 2,000 people. And 2,000 people can be allocated into 2,000-man brigade. But what surprised Zhaojian a little bit was that not only Kushina was assigned to his team. Even the three of Ino Shikacho were assigned to their own names. Understood. After third generation announced his appointment and team, Zhaojian also nodded in response. He did not reject the appointment of third generation. After all, Nara Shikaju was also assigned to his team. If not, just throw the burden directly to him at the front of the battlefield. I can completely be like Orochimaru, being a hand-off shopkeeper. After third generation announced the appointment of Zhaojian, it began to announce another team. As for the other team, Orochimaru himself led the team. And under his name, Yuri Junhong, etc., a group of Jonin commanders. Is it all clear? After all the transfer orders were issued, third generation asked solemnly. Clear, everyone in the command center replied loudly. 7. Quote, then you hurry up and prepare, the battlefield is critical and time cannot be delayed. Third generation said solemnly again. In other battlefields, there is no convenience of phone worms. So third generation is not clear at this time, what is going on the front line. So at this time, his heart is also very anxious. Yes, Zhaojian and Orochimaru responded at the same time. Then Zhaojian got up and hung up the phone worm directly. Captain Zhaojian, congratulations. It's time to be called Lord Zhaojian. Yes, Sir Zhaojian, congratulations. After the call was hung up, a group of Konoha Jonin came forward to congratulate Zhaojian. Even Orochimaru, who is at the same level at the moment, smiled and congratulated twice. At this moment, Zhaojian was promoted to commander-in-chief, which was equivalent to an increase in his position. Therefore, he was originally a Jonin of the same level, so he had to change his name to Zhaojian at this moment. Ha ha ha, you're polite. Zhaojian also smiled and waved his hand as a thank you. Seeing Zhaojian being embraced and congratulated by the crowd, he looked vigorous. Kushina also feels proud. The little face was flushed with excitement, which looked particularly attractive. Since third generation and the senior management have issued orders, then we can't delay any more time. Everyone, quickly gather a team and we will go and destroy Iwagakure. Zhaojian waved his hand and said with high spirits. The Jonin commanders assigned to his hands also took their orders and retreated. Seeing Zhaojian started to act, Orochimaru was not far behind. The same waved his hand and ordered the team to be assembled. Don't tell me, you are still real, you have the commander-in-chief's momentum. After everyone retreated, Kushina took Zhaojian's arm and smiled with a blushing face. Of course, I am already commanding now. Zhaojian turned his head and smiled at Kushina. Then he drew his arms and took her into his arms. Just when the phone worm hung up, Sarutobi Hiruzen also spread the victory of Sand Shinobi's surrender from the Hokage building to the surroundings. For a while, everyone in the entire Konoha village was boiling. And Zhaojian's name, once again, has been conveyed into the ears of every villager. Zhaojian at this time is in Konoha village. It can be said that the real people know everything. The villagers who have seen Zhaojian are all boasting Zhaojian. And the villagers who have never seen what Zhaojian is like, always want to see the hero of the village right away. Even the ninja students who just enrolled in the ninja school. In the most recent period of time, Tentenshi has grown up and will become a ninja as great as Lord Zhaojian. Come on, guy, as long as you work hard, you will be as strong as Lord Zhaojian in the future. Might Dai, who came to school to give his son a lunchbox, said to Might Guy with a look of encouragement. With a sound of green tights, he looked so different in the crowd. Really, Dad, I will definitely work hard. Might Guy raised his head, his eyes filled with excitement. He also wears the same green tights as Might. But the difference is that Might is wearing a yellow scarf, while he is wearing a red scarf. At this time, in the original Hokage, this one almost kicked out the final blue beast, and he has not graduated from the ninja school. You save the province, just you. Do you still want to be as strong as Lord Zhaojian? That's right, and I heard that guy has been in ninja school for almost 3 years, but he didn't even learn a ninjutsu. What, isn't he just the tail of the crane? Keep your voice down. A group of parents who also came to the ninja school to give lunch to their children, whispering to the Might Guy father and son not far away. Yin, Ali Gadu, Might Guy and his son turned their heads at the same time. At the whispering crowd, a big thumb was raised. The dazzling big white fang is also shining shiningly at this time. The parents who were whispering to each other were quickly scattered by light and ran away. At the same time that this scene happened, countless village spies lurking in Konoha also passed on the news of Sunagakure's defeat in various ways. At this moment, Sunagakure's frontline team has not yet returned to the village. So at this time, the information about Sand Shinobi's defeat was only spread in Konoha. And Sarutobi Hiruzen deliberately publicized Sand Shinobi's defeat, not just announcing a victory. He also wanted to use this news to shock other villages. Master Madara, in the dark grotto, white Zetsu got out of the soil. Black Zetsu is not attached to his body at the moment, so now he has only pure white color. Lord Madara, Sunagakure was defeated again. That Baiyun Zhaojian is really amazing. Sand Shinobi saw him and fled. And they also gave Baiyun Zhaojian a name Konoha Shining. White Zetsu danced and reported to Uchiha Madara. However, since his intelligence came from yesterday, he does not know now that Sunagakure was actually forced to surrender this morning. Konoha Shine, hey Sunagakure is really getting useless. Hearing White Zetsu's words, Uchiha slowly opened his eyes. Sengoyu's pupils were slowly rotating and opening in his 383 eyes. Master Madara, do we need to speed up the implementation of the plan? According to the situation at this time, Sunagakure may surrender in a few days. At that time, the Konoha team that was fighting Sand Shinobi will be liberated. Under the pressure of Konoha's senior leaders, they may not send genins to the battlefield. Black Zetsu emerged from Uchiha Madara's shadow. In order to save his mother, Black Zetsu did not hesitate to hide Tenten in Madara's shadow, making Madara think that Black Zetsu was his will. Well, what you said is also right. Uchiha Madara nodded, closed his eyes again, and his thoughts began to spin in his head. Come with me to Kurigakure. When I opened my eyes again, there was a gleam in Uchiha Madara's eyes. I saw him not a seal, and the white tube connected to his back immediately absorbed a huge amount of energy from the Gedo statue. His originally very dry skin slowly recovered some luster and plumpness at this time. Even the original long white hair has become gray. Click. Pulling off the white tube on his body, Uchiha Madara took the lead and walked out. Black Zetsu quickly broke away from Madara's shadow, quickly attached himself to White Zetsu, and then followed Madara's pace. The man behind the scenes who was hiding in the shinobi world and planning for so long was actually more anxious than Uchiha Madara in his heart. The next day, after a day of rush, the Konoha army led by Zhaojian, from within the border of the Kingdom of Wind, came to the border of the Kingdom of Rain. Master Zhaojian, the country of rain is ahead, don't we need to take a detour? A Konoha Jonin running behind Zhaojian reminded Zhaojian. After all, during the war, stepping into the territory of other countries at will, but it is easy to cause contradictions and disputes. Unnecessary. Just borrow from the country of the rain. Pata pata pata. Zhaojian's pace did not stop in the slightest. After the sound fell, he took the lead from the front of the team and stepped into the territory of the rain country. At this time, if you take a detour, it will take at least half a day to reach the battlefield where Iwagakure is at fire. The front line does not yet know what is going on, so Zhaojian does not want to waste too much time. And, if Hanzo of the Salamander from Rain Shinobi village really dare to come and ask for trouble, then let him know that the Konoha village at this time is not just the Konoha Sannin that he bestows on. Do not worry. The land of rain is located at the border of the three countries, and their situation is actually more severe than ours. As long as we don't take the initiative to cause a war in the land of rain, they dare not stop it at will, at most they will stop it symbolically. Naruto, who also ran behind Zhaojian, smiled and comforted everyone. Certainly. In fact, he has more confidence. It is Zhaojian's unmatched strength. I see. Hear what Nara Shikahisa said. A crowd of Konoha Jonin exhaled one after another. After all, Zhaojian is fearless, but it does not prove that they are not afraid. Because if it is true, there will be conflicts with the country of rain, and even a war will be triggered. Then they are equivalent to erecting another enemy to the village when Konoha was in danger. In this way, they can become sinners in the village. Zhaojian, who was running at the front of the team, heard Naruto's consolation to everyone, and the corners of his mouth twitched zero. It feels good to have such a high IQ presence in the team. It's really sensible in analysis. Hula la la. The majestic rain poured down from the sky. Entire Rain Shinobi village, all shrouded in a daze. In a hall, Hanzo of the Salamander, the leader of Rain Shinobi, is having a meal at the moment. Report. A loud report, accompanied by the downpour, came in from outside the door. And the voice seemed very anxious. Come in. Hanzo frowned and relieved the dishes in his hands. Rain Shinobi, wearing a gas mask outside the door, after receiving Hanzo's response, pushed the door and entered the hall. Report to your lord. The perception department has detected that a brigade of 1,000 people is coming straight from the direction of the country of the wind towards the territory of our country. After taking a breather, Rain Shinobi hurriedly reported. What? Hanzo suddenly sat up from his seat. Sunagakure, isn't it attacking the country of fire? Running into our country of rain at this moment, what do you want to do? Could it be that while they are beating Konoha, they are arrogantly wanting to split up and even fight with us? Hearing that the person came from the Kingdom of Wind, Hanzo subconsciously thought it was Sunagakure's troops. After all, Sunagakure's surrendered interest rate at this time has not yet been communicated to the country of rain. So in Rain Shinobi village, no one knows. In fact, Sunagakure has already been defeated. Quick, pass the order down. Call the team. Hanzo kicked the table in front of him. All kinds of food were spilled on the table. Yes. Rain Shinobi nodded in response. Then he turned quickly and ran out. Not too long. When Hanzo was ready and walked out of the main hall, a Rain Shinobi brigade of 2,000 people has also been assembled. Because since the outbreak of the war, Rain Shinobi Village has also taken precautions long ago, in order to be able to deal with all kinds of emergencies in the wars of the great powers. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.